Sure. District-wide on citizen voting age population, the African-American population is about 6% of the district population, and there's not the same sort of areas of concentration of increased presence that we saw for the other two protected classes.
Do you see that number increasing, or what's your thoughts on that?
I think we're going to have to wait for the census data to see if there's an increase in that number or if other groups are increasing faster.
Trustee McDonald?
Yes. First, I'd like to acknowledge that Trustee Canlis is here. Thank you for being here tonight. My question is twofold. First of all, the two no votes for this conceptual map look like they're the two trustees that live in Area 3 currently?
Correct. And
so the election would be in 2020. Are both up for re-election at that time? So would one have to not run? So I'm assuming that was why the vote was like it was. Could you elaborate on that a little?
Both Trustee Kaur and Trustee Wang are in the same area. They both have terms that expire this November. So if both wanted to run again, they'd have to run against each other as well as whoever else decided to run. There was no commentary from them about not wanting to necessarily do that. But again, those were the two who voted against the adopted map, and they will have to run against each other.
Okay, that helps me understand. My second question is just one of looking at the map. I'm looking at the yellow area, and it seems to have the second highest population, but it looks like very few homes are there. When I compare it with the other area that's got the same, close to the same population, which is Area 4, Area 3? Area 4, looks like it has similar population on the map, but I see a lot more houses. So where is everyone in the yellow section? It doesn't look like a lot of homes. Are they apartments?
Yes, there are apartments that are in a lot of those areas, and that's why obviously most of the people in the yellow area are close to the dividing line. The areas as it goes farther east are relatively uninhabited. So the portion that we're kind of zoomed in on to the left of the legend is where most of the folks are, and there are a good number of apartments in that area to have a higher density population.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, because I know most of these other areas are a lot of homes. I'm familiar with these areas, and then I'm looking at that one and just wondering where all the people are.
Yeah, Area 3 and also has a large geographic footprint, but a lot of areas that are industrial or commercial, and that's why most of the population is south of Whipple, for example.
Okay. Any other questions? Trustee Knowles?
Thank you. Trustee Canlis, is there any additional information that perhaps was not captured in this report? I just want to check with you because you're here. Okay. Just for the record, because she didn't speak into the microphone. She did nod her head yes and said it's fine. Thank you.
Trustee Sims?
Where did Mark fit in as far as your statistics are concerned? Did you figure in Mark at all?
In terms of increased population due to homes built around BART?
Apartments, right.
No, we realize that given the size of the district, that any increase in density that's going to occur is going to cause some major redrawing of the lines. While we're allowed a variance of up to 10%, that doesn't really give it enough of a buffer to work that in. So we're just going to have to look at this in about a year's time and see what the census numbers look like and adjust them accordingly.
Anyone else? Okay, so if there is no additional questions or comments from the board, I would like to request a motion to close the hearing. Been moved by Trustee Sims. Second by Trustee Serrato. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. At this time, I would like to ask for a motion to approve or disapprove the districts proposed by Trustee Area Map and election process and to adopt the corresponding resolution. Okay, Fred?
Yeah, I make the motion. Okay, approval. Motions. I move that in accordance with the Education Code, Section 5019, the Alameda County Committee on School District Organization approves the proposal of New Haven Unified School District establishing the trustee plan map, scenario number 1, and changing the method of election to a by trustee area election process. And I move that the committee adopts resolution number 1920-01 to approve the proposal of the New Haven Unified School District. Further, this action shall not be deemed to constitute an order of election if the State Board of Education grants the district's request for a waiver, in which case trustee area elections shall become effective the next succeeding board member election in November 2020. Disapproval. All right.
So it's been moved. Is there a second?
I second.
So it's been moved by trustee Sims, second by trustee Serrato. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention? It passes unanimously. So thank you for coming. Your plan has been approved by us, and good luck in the future. So thank you. Oh. So new trustee arrived, trustee Nishihira? Yes. Just to welcome you.
Good job. Great. So do you make recommendations on that?
How are you? I'm fine. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Yeah, we got, yeah, my district, there's a lot of apartments on that side. But actually, there's a lot of folks over on my old fast.
Yeah, they didn't do any social.
How are you, Frank?
Okay, I would like to call the meeting to order.
I gotta hide these.
So the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of the minutes of the January 28th meeting, a resolution declaring March Social Work Month, and a resolution declaring March Women's History Month. Is there a motion? Does anybody want to pull any items from consent?
No, it's okay.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
I'll second.
So it's been moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstention, motion carries. Next item is the Policy and Legislation Committee report. The committee met on February 7th, last Friday. We reviewed the MOU for the Cox Academy, and the committee voted, and the committee consists of trustees Childress, Sims, and myself. The committee voted to recommend approval of the MOU for Cox Academy. We did not go over any board policies. Staff presented some things they're working on to bring to the board in terms of legislative tracking, the positions that we have taken, and be able to read the actual bills. And then the staff is also working on, we got in the superintendent's notes, the first installment of the IDTs, how we have received, how many were resolved before they came to the board, how many were approved, how many were denied, and they're working on that to bring to the board for a few years so that we have a historical perspective. And we think that will be very useful for us to see where we are, okay? Okay, now, we will go to item number 6, which is the final approval of the MOU for Cox Academy.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair, I'm going to recuse both on Cox Academy and where I do have a conflict of interest, but while I don't have a material conflict of interest in Roses and Concrete, because there was ambiguity, I recused from the initial hearing, so I'm going to recuse from this as well, so
Okay.
I'll leave the, thank you.
Okay. Superintendent Monroe, please introduce this item and provide us a brief description and background.
Be happy to. So this item is the last formal step in the approval and of the charter for Education for Change, Cox Academy Charter School. On December 10th, 2019, the board granted the charter petition for Education for Change, Cox Academy, on the condition that a memorandum of understanding, MOU, between the charter and the County Board of Education and the county superintendent to be finalized. A draft of the MOU was reviewed by ACOE staff, Cox Charter staff, and the Policy and Legislation Committee. The MOU is before the board today for approval, after which it will be approved and signed by the charter school.
Thank you, Superintendent. As I mentioned, the committee reviewed the MOU with staff, and the committee is recommending approval of the MOU. Are there any comments from the public on this item, Ms. Espinosa?
Not on this one.
Not on this item. Thank you. Okay, are there any questions for staff about the MOU? Seeing none, I request a motion for action regarding the memorandum of understanding between Education for Change, Cox Academy Charter School, this board, and the Alameda County Superintendent of Schools.
I move approval.
A second?
So it's been moved by Trustee Serrato, second by Trustee McDonald, to approve the MOU. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Abstention? Motion carries. Okay? So, let me check time here. 6:40. The next item is going to take long. Should we do public comment now? Okay. Do we have cards for public comment? Okay.
As close to 7 as possible.
So each speaker will have 2 minutes, and I think that in front of that desk, there is a timer that tells you the time. Genevieve Cole, Teresa Jimenez, and Fida Al-Maliti.
Good evening, Board, President, trustees, and Ms. Monroe. Hello, Mr. Sims. My name is Jonavette Cole. I'm with Hayward Promise Neighborhood, and Hayward Promise Neighborhood is a $30 million U.S. Department of Education grant. And the purpose of that grant is to halt generational poverty and to make certain that our students have the educational resources they need, as well as their parents in regards to community resources as well. And the reason I'm here today, and I did have something I wanted to pass out to you. Recently, we were in Sacramento at our state capitol advocating for the End Child Poverty Plan. And as you know, I'm sure you're aware that there are over 2.5 million young people that are living in poverty. And so our objective, working with the Hayward Promise neighborhood, is from this plan, it has been recommended that we have additional, right now there are 4 Promise neighborhoods throughout California. We would like to see 10 to 20 Promise neighborhoods throughout California funded by the state capitol. And so I'm here asking for your support of that initiative, and I do have information to pass out for your review, and I'll give that to your assistant there. Thank you.
Welcome, Teresa.
Hi. Good to see you guys.
Been a while.
I know. What the heck? Good evening, President Rivera, Superintendent Moreau, and trustees. My name is Teresa Jimenez. I'm a 30-year employee with Alameda County Office of Education, and recently I took on the role of chapter president for California School Employees Association, ALICO Chapter 615. And so just letting you know, I'll be checking in with you guys. I want to be more involved in meeting with you guys, probably one-on-one, just, so we can reconnect. I ran on the platform of respectful relationships. That comes from member to member, from, classified staff to directors, administrators, and of course, that goes across to you guys as well. So I'm thinking a good project for us might be, we have our Classified School Employees Week. I'm going to cheat here. May 17th to the 23rd. And a project that we did years ago, and I'd like to redo it, is to have you guys shadow a classified employee for the day or a couple of hours, just so you guys can hang out with us and see what it is that we do, because I believe classified employees are the backbone of Alameda County Office of Education. We are the largest bargaining unit at ACOE, and I hope that you guys will consider doing that, whether it's shadowing somebody in a school program, fiscal services, if numbers turn you on. I don't know, I just want to see you guys become more involved with our staff and with our association as a whole. So I'll be reaching out, and I'll be hanging out at these board meetings, maybe not till midnight, but I'll be here checking in on you guys. So thank you.
We will not be here till midnight.
What, in the old days, sure.
Hi. Oh, thank you. It's my first time here, and maybe if I'd paid a little bit more attention, I would have caught that the item that I wanted to talk about was discussed in closed session, the Pathfinder property in Fremont. And I heard the vote on it, and I don't know if there's further, consideration can be taken or appeal or at a later date, but I just want to say that I'm a parent of a 15-year-old with autism. I live in Fremont. My son goes to school every day in Santa Cruz because there is no placement for him in Fremont. There are no programs to meet the needs of severely disabled kids in Fremont. And we're really interested in starting a program in Fremont to serve these kids. We spend over $6 million a year on private placements. 80% of that are kids with autism, and these are the most severe kids. We can do it in our district. The problem is in Fremont, we don't have a lot of space, building space and things like that, and these kids need a closed campus. And that Pathfinder building is a closed campus. There are kids there that have emotional disturbance there right now. So it's perfectly suited for adolescents with severe behavioral issues. And not only will it save the district money to educate these kids in district, but it's also literally the law and the right thing to do to educate them in the least restrictive environment. So my son doesn't have to go 2 counties across to get an education. So I don't know what the process is, but I just want to implore you guys that there are no programs for our kids. And every year the autism rate is growing. You guys see it in your schools and your districts and things like that. Before now, over 2% of the population in any city is a person affected by autism. You know somebody with autism, your neighbor has autism, your grandkid has autism. Unfortunately, that's how it is, and it's not going down, it's going up, and the kids that have more severe needs are actually getting, exploding their rate more than the kids that are high functioning. So please help, I guess.
Thank you. Okay. That concludes public comment. Now we will move to item number 8, which is the determination hearing for Roses in Concrete Charter Petition Appeal. Please note that we will not hear any presentations from the petitioner or district this evening, as that process occurred during the public hearing on January 28th. Tonight's determination hearing is for the board to hear a report from ACOE staff concerning the petition review and analysis, and for the board to deliberate and make a decision to approve or deny the petition. However, we ask that representatives from the charter and the Oakland Unified School District be prepared to answer any clarifying questions the board may want to ask during deliberations. Superintendent Monroe, would you please introduce staff?
Of course. Good evening. I'd like to welcome Roses in Concrete School's lead petitioner, Carla Victor, and Leslie Salinas, and other leadership staff from Roses in Concrete Charter School, as well as parents and other community who are here this evening. I also welcome board members, Oakland board members, Amy Ng, Gary Yee, and Director Harris is also listed here. He may join us from Oakland Unified. On January 28th, 2020, a public hearing was held before the County Board of Education to hear comments from the petitioner and the public on charter school petition appeal filed by Roses in Concrete Charter School. Consistent with statutory deadlines, the board will now hold a final hearing and make its decision on the pending charter appeal. I now ask that Dr. Ingrid Roberson, Chief of Learning and Accountability, and Juan Lamb, Executive Director of our Research Assessment and Accountability Partnerships Department, provide a summary of the review and analysis of Roses in Concrete Charter School's charter petition appeal.
Good evening, Superintendent Monroe, President Rivera, and trustees. We will now present the staff report for Roses in Concrete Charter School.
Technical difficulties. Oh, there you go.
ACOE determined the petition for renewal to be complete on January 9th. Reviewed the materials submitted using the checklist rubric, and the public hearing took place on January 28th, 2020. And you can see a visual here of the process itself. ACOE staff reviewed the petition, fiscal documents, and school data, and conducted a site visit on January 31st, followed by a capacity interview with board members on February 5th, 2020. Today, February 11th, 2020, is the Board of Education determination meeting. Education Code 47607 stipulates that in considering a charter renewal, the most important factor are the increases in student achievement for all groups served by the charter school. The finances, operation, and likelihood of future success are also to be taken into consideration. Roses in Concrete is requesting a 5-year renewal to their charter. This is their mission and vision statement. Our primary goal is to develop youth committed to lives characterized by self-discipline, integrity, love, and hope in the pursuit of justice and equity for all communities. So now we're going to start with the enrollment data over the last few years. Roses in Concrete enrollment has been between 186 to 368 students over the last 5 years. The charter served 186 students in 2015-16 grades K-4 and has added a grade every year. There was a decrease in 139 students from last year to the 1920 school year, and you can see that in this particular graph. We decided to take a closer look at the enrollment by grade level given this decrease in enrollment. The enrollment drop-off between 2018-19 and 2019-20 is as follows. Lower incoming class of K from 52 to 32, Grade compressions, which is K to first, first to second, decreased in a range from 12 to 28. And so you can see where for kindergarten there were 52 students. In the following year, that progressed to 40 students in grade 1. If you take a look at 5th grade in 2018, 2019, there were 47 students. The progression to grade 6, the middle school part of the campus, was 19 students, or is 19 students rather. No, you had some. It's all good. Roses in Concrete serves a student population that is 56.5% socioeconomically disadvantaged, 14.7% English learners, 9.2% students with disabilities. This is for 368 students, so this is based on the 2018-2019 enrollment, not the current year. The school serves 39.7% African American students, 32.6% Hispanic and Latino students. In comparison to Oakland Unified School District as well as Alameda County, so Roses in Concrete is in blue, Oakland is in this beautiful marigold, and Alameda County is in orange. And so Roses in Concrete has 40% African American students compared with 10% for Alameda County and 24% for Oakland Unified. Roses in Concrete Charter School has a lower percentage of Hispanic or Latinx students, English learners, students with disabilities when you compare them to the county and OUSD. Roses in Concrete Charter School also has a lower percentage of socioeconomically disadvantaged students than OUSD, but higher than Alameda County itself. And now we're going to move to the student outcomes.
So when we take a look at the academic performance as measured by the California Assessment of Student Progress over the last 4 years, the percentage of students meeting or exceeding standards in English language arts decreased from 21 to 16%. African American students declined from 32% meeting or exceeding standards to 9%. In mathematics, students meeting or exceeding standards decreased from 15 to 6%. Hispanic, Latinx students in 1819 met or exceeded standards at 9%. Over the last 4 years, the overall suspension rate has decreased from 5 to 3%, though students with disabilities and African American students were suspended at higher rates than other groups of students, such as English learners and Hispanic Latinx students. In 2018-19, 11% of the 34 Roses in Concrete students with disabilities were suspended, which amounts to approximately 4 students. Chronic absenteeism is based on the number of students who have missed at least 10% of the instructional days they were enrolled to attend a school. Over 3 years, the chronic absenteeism for Roses in Concrete has increased from 24 to 30%. In the 2018-19 school year, 110 students out of a total of 369 were chronically absent, meaning they missed 18 or more out of 180 instructional days. So if we look at the African American students, that is 53 students for 18-19, and it's 37 students for Hispanic and Latinx students. As part of the renewal criteria, Ed Code 47607 points to the need to compare the academic performance of the charter school to the public schools that the students would have otherwise attended. For comparison elementary schools, 3 elementary schools and 3 middle schools were selected based on location, similar demographics, and schools students would have otherwise attended. The top half of this table compares the demographics of Roses in Concrete Charter School with comparison schools Allendale, Laurel, and Melrose Leadership Academy, which is a TK to 8. For socioeconomically disadvantaged students, Roses in Concrete is most comparable to Melrose Leadership Academy and has a lower percentage of socioeconomically disadvantaged students than Allendale or Laurel Elementary. For students with disabilities, Roses in Concrete is in the middle with their comparative schools and most comparable to Laurel. Roses in Concrete has a lower percentage of English learners than all 3 comparison elementary schools. Bret Harte, Frick Impact Academy, and Montera were also chosen for the 3 middle school as comparisons. So this map shows the location of the comparison schools that were selected. As you can see, Allendale, Laurel, and Melrose, Laurel, and Frick are less than 1.5 miles away, and the other two closest middle schools are Bret Harte, 2.1 miles away, and Montero, which is 3.6 miles away. So when comparing the performance of Roses in Concrete with the 6 comparison schools, in chronic absenteeism, Roses in Concrete did not outperform any of the comparison schools over 2 years. Please note that the staff did not include a comparison for the 18-19 school year due to the extenuating circumstances of the OUSD strike. That is why that is grade and asterisk. For the suspension rate, Roses in Concrete outperformed 3 out of 6 schools over the course of 3 years and 4 schools in 18-19. The specific schools data, if you are interested in that, is also listed in the appendix. Academically, Roses in Concrete outperformed 2 out of 6 schools, Allendale and Frick, on the English Language Arts assessment over 3 years. In mathematics, Roses in Concrete also outperformed 2 out of the 6 schools in 15-16, 1 out of 6 in 16-17, and 17-18. The California School Dashboard uses a color rating system where blue is the highest performing and red is the lowest performing. This is as a comparison in giving an overall dashboard performance for the school for the 6 indicators. We do not compare dashboard performance levels. They're just a reporting structure for ease of reporting. So again, here the chronic absenteeism data is not highlighted because of the extenuating circumstances of the strike. Roses in Concrete has submitted the 5-year targets, for the proposed 5-year targets over the next 5 years. So the Roses in Concrete staff is proposing a decrease of chronic absenteeism from 30 to roughly 24% over the course of the next 5 years. If enrollment were to hold steady at the current rate, just to give you an approximate sense of what this would look like, if it was 229 students, which is how many students are currently enrolled, that would amount to, that is currently 69 students that would be chronically absent, and so they are proposing to, over the next 5 years, if they held steady at the enrollment, that would be 56 students who were chronically absent at the end of the 5 years. The academic targets, the suspension, as you can see, goes from 3% to 1% over the next 5 years. And the academic targets, which are reported in distance from standard, and so the goal here is to get to 0. So the 0 means that all the students would be on average at standard. The academic targets proposed here would maintain a very low standards distance from standard in English language arts, and it would remain low in mathematics. And I will turn it now over for the fiscal review.
Thank you. Good evening. So when we did the fiscal review, we looked at several financial information, including the unaudited actuals for fiscal year 18-19, the audit report for 18-19, the budget report for 19-20, and the first interim report for 19-20, including cash flow projections. And this is a summary. And this is a summary of the items that we would like to emphasize during our observation and the review process. So for the certification purposes, we found out that there are no audit findings in fiscal year 2018 to 19. So that's a good thing. The audit report showed clean opinion, and there are no previous findings pending or otherwise. The charter self-certified itself as qualified at the first interim report. Qualified certification means they may not meet their financial obligations for the current fiscal year or 2 subsequent fiscal years. So that's for the current year and 18-19 and 19-20. However, if we look beyond that for the 3 to 5 year assessment, we think that the certification might be uncertain because it heavily depends on several factors that I would like to discuss on the following items. For example, for the enrollment growth and ADA ratio, there was a dramatic drop in enrollment and ADA of 139 students and 115 ADA respectively from fiscal year 2018-19 to fiscal year 19-20. The biggest and the most important question looking forward is the likelihood of a very strong recovery in student enrollment projected by the charter. The ratio of ADA to enrollment has been hovering around 89% only. Issues that have plagued the charter and impact the ADA are chronic absenteeism and significant teacher turnover rates. The charter has provided, under the request from ACOE, specific initiatives and actions to address both issues and anything else that may be impacting attendance, including leadership turnover or inability to be present and available to students due to other responsibilities such as union negotiations. Although these outlines and documents are welcome response from the charter and turnover and teaching personnel has abated, these plans do not set very concrete goals or targets other than stating the aspiration to achieve a 97% ADA to enrollment. Right now, it uses a 92% ratio for fiscal years 19-20. Another item that we are looking at is other revenues and support to the charter. A major revenue stream of the charter seems to be the financial support through other local revenues, namely fundraising and grants, that would seem to materially decrease in the near future. This will affect the financial viability of the innovative educational model the charter is trying to implement. This revenue source amounted to 1.5 million in fiscal year 18-19 and declined to 1 million in fiscal year 2019-20. This revenue stream represents 29% of the entire revenue base of the organization, and that's very large. So the lower it becomes, the higher the risk percentage is. On the structural deficit status issue, the charter experienced a very substantial and sudden change in operating results, going from a combined operating deficit of minus 4,000 for fiscal year 18-19 and 19-20 to a combined deficit of 856,000 for the same period, as per the first interim report. The projected ending fund balance as of June 30, 2020, still remains positive and exceeds the statutory threshold of operating expenses. However, looking forward, the fund balance projections depend heavily on enrollment projections being realistic and attainable. When we look at the multi-year projections, again, the most important question is the feasibility of recovering enrollment, affecting mostly the middle school grade levels. The charter will have to implement specific contingency plans if enrollment growth does not materialize. The projected results for the upcoming periods depend on major increase in enrollment. The current level of reserves only provides cushion for a year of operation if things do not change substantially. So in conclusion, there is a need to focus on target and specific areas, and the charter acknowledges their problems and has taken some actions to correct the root cause of the issues discussed in the report. Staff believes that if the appeal of the charter were to be considered for renewal or as a new petition by the ACOE board, staff suggests that a very strict and goal-oriented metric-driven MOU or Memorandum of Understanding will have to be drafted and accepted by the charter. The MOU would have to include clear quarterly and annually target goals for the following metrics, such as enrollment, average daily attendance, ADA ratio, chronic absenteeism, teacher turnover, student turnover, and letters of financial commitment from grantors or other donors of local revenue contributions. So that sums up our review.
So in conclusion, and after a review of the school's petition, the data review, and the evidence collected during the January 31st site visit and capacity interview on February 5th, Roses in Concrete demonstrates an evidence of strong community and family partnerships, and current leadership is very committed to continuous improvement. There is an urgent need to address persistently high rates of student chronic absenteeism over the last 3 years, and the proposed targets show minimal progress for students over the next 5 years in chronic absenteeism and academics. And that concludes the staff report.
Thank you. I will now allow comments from the public using the comment cards that have been submitted. Each person will be allowed 1 minute. And in front of the desk, there is a display that will tell you how much time you have. So when you're to the minute, please finish so I don't have to cut you off. I'm going to call 3 people at a time, and you can just line up. Amber Johnson, Brett Noble, Elizabeth Wendt.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth Wendt, the Oakland Office of Charter Schools Compliance Specialist. Part of my job is to receive complaints about charter schools reported to our office. While a complaint does not mean always that a violation has occurred, what's notable about Roses in Concrete is the high number of complaints I've received and that concerns have consistently been about the same issues. In the past 2 years, we've received multiple complaints about students not getting the academic support they need. There's also been a pattern of complaints about school leadership not responding to families when they raise concerns, including urgent concerns around issues like bullying. And we've received multiple complaints about a range of safety concerns, including student-on-student bullying, inappropriate student-staff interactions, and in 3 separate cases, families and staff ostracizing students who've gone through disciplinary proceedings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Amber Johnson, and this is Torian LeGrone. Attending Roses in Concrete, Torian has not been put up for an SST assignment as she was 2 years in a row attending Montclair Elementary for 1st and 2nd grade. Attending Roses, Torian has not heard her peers whisper and tell others in her class Black people are dangerous and Black people are crazy. Be careful of her. Attending Roses, Torian has peers that do look like her, sound, move, dress, pray, eat, and love just like her. At Montclair, she was the only Black child in the classroom both years in a row. We ask that you are willing to invest in Roses. As Oakland's Montclair is the best that I can offer her, we have experienced for ourselves this is not a location for a Black child. Oakland needs a space like this for our brown and Black babies. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Brett Noble, and I'm the analytics specialist in the Oakland Unified Charter School office. Out of 28, it's not something that we take lightly. As the board is aware, the school's academic performance on state tests has been consistently low, and despite serving a lower percentage of English learners, students with disabilities, and low-income students in every year of the charter term when compared with the Oakland average. Although the school's leadership has recently suggested that it should not be measured using outcomes on state tests, this viewpoint was never communicated to our office until this school year and directly conflicts with the measurable goals outlined in both its current and proposed charter petitions. Many of these self-selected goals include specific targets related to proficiency on state tests. Furthermore, the school failed to present a coherent proposal for alternative metrics to be used in lieu of state measures. The limited data that the school did provide was largely based on subjective teacher ratings, giving us little confidence that it could be used to reliably evaluate the school's progress in preparing students for the high school.
Kelly Krog Arnold, Sonali Murarka, Ingrid Jacobson.
Good evening. My name is Kelly Craig Arnold. I'm the policy specialist in the Oakland Unified Charter School office. I'm going to talk about our enrollment concerns with Roses and Concrete. Roses has had extremely high student turnover. Of the 370 students enrolled at Roses last year, only 153 continued to be enrolled at the school this year. This means that substantially more students left the school, 217 students left, than stayed at the school. Put another way, 60% of the students left the school in just 1 year. This is by far the highest of any charter school in Oakland. Although the school did backfill some of the students who left, enrollment still declined by more than 130 students, which is a decline of nearly 40%. This is especially striking since they actually expanded to serve an additional grade level this year. This enrollment instability makes us deep turnover, also highlights our concerns about the culture and climate of the school. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sonali Mararka. I'm the director for the Office of Charter Schools at Oakland Unified. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. Since I joined OUSD in 2018, I have reviewed 13 renewal petitions, and this is the only one where we have recommended denial. As my colleague mentioned, we did not come to that denial recommendation lightly. This was challenging and emotional for our team and for me personally, but we are confident in our recommendation. Today, I want to talk about where students from Roses might go if the petition is denied. We would not have felt comfortable recommending denial unless we knew there were other schools ready to welcome in these students. There are several schools in Oakland, both district and charter, that have already been welcoming in the many students who have transferred out of Roses, and these students would continue to do so if the Roses petition is denied. A few of the schools that are more common among students transferring out of Roses include Melrose Leadership Academy, Manzanita Seed, Redwood Heights, East Bay Innovation Academy, and Baytech. These schools all have different focus areas and have unique strengths, but all of them are higher performing than Roses, have diverse student bodies, and are already home to several former Roses students who are thriving in these schools.
Thank you.
My name's Ingrid Jacobson. I might cry, but we're just gonna move on through it. Everett's my child. He's in kindergarten. He's thriving at Roses. It's his first year. We are a new family. We love Roses. Everett's learning how to read and he's showing continuous progress. The curriculum elegantly integrates science, art, writing, critical thinking, social justice, what it means to be a friend, and a whole human. He learned about migration through studying butterflies. We can learn a lot from butterflies. He knows that migration is natural. He wrote a letter to a child in detention. He wrote a science journal where he wrote about the phases of metamorphosis. I'd like to finish. Roses' experience in metamorphosis. This takes time. It's natural. Roses has something to teach the rest of our schools about centering the learning of Black and brown kids.
Thank you.
There's a new principal. Everyone is committed.
Thank you.
We really hope that you give us a chance.
James Harris, Gary G., Jason Miller.
Trustees, decisions that affect our families are never easy, but it's our duty. The appeal process now takes into account more longitudinal data, more disaggregated data, and more elements beyond test scores, for example, chronic absenteeism. Our staff has determined that Roses has failed to meet established performance outcomes for its students and is unlikely to do so in the future. This has been largely and effectively triangulated and confirmed by your staff's evaluations, our staff's, and the staff at CCSA. Consistent and positive academic growth is challenging when staff turns over, principals come and go, students come from all around the city and often from challenging environments, and many Oakland schools face the same challenge and more. Despite this, we cannot ignore the evidence of poor academic and behavioral outcomes, and we recently, as a board, have closed and merged several district schools. It's our duty. I believe that Rosa's recent proposals for remediation are not sufficiently robust to ensure strong academic outcomes in the near future.
Thank you.
And I urge you to support our application.
Excuse me, we will not accept that type of behavior here. If you behave like that, we will ask you to leave. Mr. Harris.
Thank you.
Members of the board, fellow colleagues, thank you for having us here tonight. My name is James Harris, District 7 trustee. Just prepared a brief statement. As one of the board members that voted to open Roses in Concrete, it is with great sadness that I ask you to uphold the decision of the Oakland School Board, the decision to close Roses in Concrete. I had incredible hope that the mission of Roses would bloom into fruition, but after 5 years, we had little to no data to support or to show how students are performing in English and math. The data we did see at the time of our decision was well below our quality standards. My ask for you to uphold our decision is not about politics, but it is about quality and equity. In Oakland, through our Community of Schools policy and our citywide plan, we are building and expanding programs that are serving our students, particularly our most vulnerable students, well. Unfortunately, Roses has not met our quality standards, but we hope to work with the school leadership to build on some of the principles expressed in their mission.
Thank you.
We remain open to exploring how to get this done. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Good evening, board. My name is Jason Miller. I'm from the law offices of Young Media Corps. First, I want to thank the county staff for doing such a thorough review. I'm thrilled to see that we're in agreement on everything except this question of education program. Quoting from the findings, it says, the educational program is not comparable to schools students would otherwise attend. That's the point of Roses in Concrete. It's not comparable to the others. It's doing something different. And the SBAC is not designed for a school like Roses in Concrete, and that's why the legislature gave you another option for renewing a school that hasn't been mentioned in this entire proceeding, either at the county or the district level, and that's the alternative measures of increases of student achievement. We have strong measures of cultural identity, of ethnic studies, of relationships, your own staff, so there's evidence of strong partnerships and a commitment to continuous improvement. This is good enough to allow this school to continue. We do not need to close this school because of test scores. It's doing so many great things in so many other ways. The test scores will come. Thank you.
Thank you. John Medina, Amy Ng, Hillary Harmson.
Good evening. My name is John Medina, and I'm a concerned parent of a 7th grader that attends Roses. If you look around this room, you'll see many other concerned parents and children here as well. I understand that you guys have a tough decision to make this evening and appreciate your civic duty and commitment to the school districts in Alameda County. We heard a lot of data tonight from the district that paints Roses in a negative light. I know that's their job, but I beg to differ, as their data does not always show the things that truly matter and translate into less crime and safer communities. My question is, how do you measure hope for a better future? How do you measure resiliency? How do you measure character? Those are the things that translate in adulthood, as we know, and the things that my son is rich in at this time. I couldn't be prouder of who he is becoming, and Roses is a big part of that equation and his development. Tonight, my ask of you is simple. Please leave out the politics, personal agendas, and power grabs that tend to be the driving force behind decisions like this, and do what's in the best interest of the children and the families. And if you do that, I know you'll renew the charter. Thank you.
Good evening, trustees. My name is Amy Ng. I'm School Board Director for Oakland Unified District 2. It's no secret that Oakland Unified over the last few years have had to face and make some tough and controversial decisions recently. What's driving these decisions is the desire and the North Star to create more equitable access to high-quality school options in every neighborhood in Oakland, and our district's fiscal sustainability. We've had to make tough decisions on schools that are not providing quality options and education in both district and now charter schools. And Frick, which was one of the comparative schools that was referenced in the presentation, is actually going to be going through a redesign and consolidation this next year. Even the charter sector believes that there should be a bar for quality, as evidenced by outreach that we received by the Charter School Association when we were going through the renewal. And unfortunately, we believe Roses in Concrete does not meet this bar. While it has a beautiful and compelling vision, we believe Roses has not demonstrated the rigorous education to Oakland students, and we ask you to support the Oakland School Board's decision.
Now, Hillary, before you start, we had 2 cards for you, one for public comments and one for this item. Did you want to speak in public comment? We just didn't find the card on time.
That's okay. I was just going to introduce myself to you before this item, so not a problem.
Okay, sorry about that.
You can just hear from me once, not a problem. My name is Hillary Harmson. I'm the Vice President of Advocacy for the California Charter Schools Association. I'm here tonight for your support of the non-renewal of Roses and Concrete. As you know, we worked really closely with the school for over a year and a half to conduct an extensive, in-depth review of both their publicly available data and their internal data assessments. We came to the conclusion that their evidence of student achievement and academic growth was not there to support the school's renewal. We agree with the county's findings that the evidence of pupil academic achievement for all groups of pupils served does not demonstrate that a sound program has been implemented. As a membership organization, and like many others, we are not taking this decision lightly. We understand and appreciate the tremendous impact that a non-renewal has on students and families, and we're committed to working with the school along with the other charities to ensure that Rose's families and students find a new school home. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Keith Linens, Emily, and Tricia Sarmiento.
How you guys doing? I'm not going to be long. I'm going to be brief. These people up here, they never even been up to the school. So them telling you about numbers, they've never even seen these kids, what's going on in the classes or nothing. So for them to make some kind of assumption about a school that they not even visit for an hour, these people have never even been up there. So at least give us a chance. Come look at the school. Come see what's going on. My daughter is mixed. She's Latina and black. I'm black, her mama Mexican. We trying to do the best we can to have her at a school where she can learn both languages and interact with everybody so she's good with every race. It's not going to happen at another school. So regardless of what they saying about numbers, that don't matter because they ain't never seen what's going on at the school to make some kind of anything about the school. And all to them, they just care about the real estate. They don't care about anything. That's what Gary Yee quoted to me at one of the school meetings. He just cared about the real estate. He said, whoever the biggest bidder is.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you guys so much for taking the time to hear me tonight. My name's Emily Scarborough. My child is Malachi Young. He's a kindergartner in Roses and Concrete, and I can tell you he is doing so well. These teachers are doing an amazing job. He is learning English, Spanish. He's doing everything above and beyond. But the thing I gotta say is, he's sick right now. He would be here with me, but he's not. I understand the different rates that are happening with those sort of situations, and I know how much it means to you guys as a board, and I respect that. But this is just a common occurrence. And then also, I sadly, it's not about a pity story, but I enrolled my child into the lottery. He didn't get into any of the schools that I wanted. Melrose Leadership was the #1 that I wanted, and he was 25th on the list, and he could not get in. And Roses and Concrete was a savior for me. Not only did it really bring in everything that I wanted, I was born and raised in Marin County. I didn't choose to raise my child over there because I wanted the cultural diversity and the ethnicity that this place brings. Thank you guys so much. This place is really important to me and my child. I don't want to go through the lottery again, and I know all these people don't, and this place has so much to add value. Thank you for your time. I'm sorry for going over.
Good evening, board members. My name is Tricia Sarmiento. I am a first grade Spanish teacher at Roses in Concrete. The double immersion in Roses goes beyond learning the Spanish language. In class, students learn about the culture, tradition, and history of Latin America and leaders of Hispanic descent who have excelled in the United States. The double immersion curriculum is supported by dance, music, poetry, and gastronomy. We are one of the few schools in the nation and the only one in the Bay that has double immersion for African American and Latino students where Spanish classes are provided by native Spanish speakers teachers. My own children had to go to high school to take a second language class or to get to college to take ethnic studies classes. Roses in Concrete offers these classes from kindergarten. At the end of the first grade, most of our students are reading, writing, and speaking in 2 languages and with the knowledge of 2 cultures. It is an honor for me to be part of Roses in Concrete, where my native language and cultures are accepted with love and respect by our students and their families. In Roses, we empower students. We don't give up on them. Please allow us to continue with our mission. Thank you all.
Thank you. Omar Omar Escalante, Valeria Sánchez, Maya Sayani, or Siani.
Hello, everybody. My name is Omar Escalante. Born and raised in Oakland, California. I have never left. Went through trials and tribulation with education. Definitely had a hard time learning when I was growing up, just due to distractions, personal family matters, and whatnot. And now I'm a parent at Roses and Concrete. I'm also a staff member at Roses and Concrete. And it's a prideful thing to know that it's grassroots in Oakland. There's people that taught me are teaching my children now. It's a beautiful thing where my kid is coming home and he's proud of his skin color, who he is, and where he comes from. And it's a shame because I grew up hiding or trying to change or trying to be somebody else, which I wasn't. And it's an amazing and powerful thing, the things that I see when I pass out lunch, because I'm just a lunch man. And all I heard them people over there say is numbers, numbers, and numbers. I don't see numbers when I serve lunch. I see future presidents, governors, lawyers. I see people that are going to change this world for the better. And if you just take a chance to go look and see, and I guarantee these kids will melt your heart. You'll see the potential that's in Oakland, California.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Maya Siani. I'm the current director of Roses and Concrete, and what I want to talk about is what you guys are already aware of, is the importance of an art program for these kids that are going through a lot of differences. They might be coming through things at home. They might be having a community that's distracting, that's not always supportive. They might be needing a voice just to express themselves and strengthen their identity. And Roses and Concrete really aligns themselves with each and every kid and what they're coming from and gives them an opportunity to tap into that and strengthen that. I want to talk a little bit about what the focus is of today is a lot of data. And when we look at data, let's just keep in mind that we're looking at past tense. And it's really hard to capture where Roses is now when you're looking at data. We have a whole new leadership team. We have a shared governance board, and we have a new head of school that really knows what this vision was that originally impressed you guys, and we're gonna make it happen. Thank you.
Is Valeria Sanchez here? Okay. Brandy, Ingrid Davis, Tisha Hadley.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brandy Mitchell, and I'm an educator, but more than anything, I'm a parent of two Roses kids, a second grader and a fourth grader. And what I have to say to you is that we are more than our challenges that the data speak to. The heart of the matter is this: oversight at this point is a given, but closing down the community would be premature and a tragedy. Please be clear on this. The desired closing of Roses is a political act. OUSD wants to give the land to another school, one whose staff and students, the demographics differ from their Roses community. So the tale of further marginalizing Black and brown kids in education is unfolding before our very eyes. The benefits that Roses has is bringing up a kids to be critical thinkers, validation of self, culture, and experiences, a knowledge of social justice matters, and confidence in their ability to be forward-thinking enough to bring about solutions to the matters that are plaguing the Black and brown community. Don't count us out, y'all.
Is Ingrid Davis here? Tisha Hadley? Ryan Quisenberry, Heaven, and Erica Negrete.
Hello, I'm Ryan Quisenberry. I'm here to represent my three sons in kinder, first grade, and fourth grade, proud members of the Roses community for 4 years now. I implore you, consider the impact of the decisions that you're making today regarding our community. So much of the focus surrounding the scrutiny recently has been regarding test scores and other factors that do not apply to the demographics and the student body that we represent here in Oakland. Many of the schools that we're being compared to and contrasted against do not represent the same diverse student body that many of our community represents, and we frankly do not represent the same amount of funding that other schools we're being compared to represent. I'm here tonight to ask for your continued support in the Roses community. Invest in a broad, diverse, and unique representation of the next generation of community leaders here in Oakland. Thank you.
Hola, buenas noches. Yo voy a hablar en español. Mi nombre es Erika Olivier Negrete Martínez.
Good evening. My name is Erika Olivier Negrete Martínez, and I will be speaking to you in Spanish tonight.
Soy instructora en español en la clase de primer grado.
I'm an instructional aide in the first grade class.
Y voy a hablar solamente de mi experiencia.
And I will speak to you only about my experience.
Apoyo totalmente lo que han dicho los familiares y personal de las Rosas en Comunidad.
I completely and wholeheartedly support what has been said by the parents and the members of the Rosas community.
Y solamente quiero decir que es la primera escuela donde las familias, los estudiantes y el personal de Rosas en Comunidad han valorado realmente mi trabajo.
And I can honestly tell you that this has been the first time where the students, the parents, the staff, the entire community has valued my work.
Me han tratado como ser humano y no como solamente una persona que es staff.
They have treated me as a human being and not only as just any old staff member.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Heaven, Ranel, Veronica. Okay.
Hi, my name's Heaven, and I'm the PTA president at Roses and Concrete. My 10-year-old also attends the school, and he used to attend Berkeley Unified, which is a very high-performing district. And I decided to end his educational career there because they were not tapped into the needs of Black and brown populations. I was in leadership there too. I was the site council chair, and I knew that they were taking thousands of dollars away from diverse families because the demographics in Berkeley were changing. And that led me to want a different experience for my biracial son, for him to be seen, for him to learn about my side of his history as his Black mother. And it's been amazing for him. There are things that he's learned that he would have never learned anywhere else. I ask you to keep the school open so that maybe I can send his sister there as well.
Hello, my name is Renelle Burnett, and I'm going to read a letter that was sent on behalf of Carla Victor by Elaine Easton, former California Superintendent of Public Education. I'm just going to read a small part. Today, Ms. Victor is leading a charter school in Oakland. As you know, I am a supporter of charter schools that are inclusive and set high standards for all and have no use for the crooked, cherry-picking charters that kick challenged children to the curb. We need schools that are committed to genuine accountability, that empower teachers to work collaboratively with students, parents, and communities. She is a leader of the school that is attracting a diverse student population, and I hope you will consider giving Roses a chance to achieve the kind of success that has characterized Carla's professional career. I respectfully ask that you help the students of Roses and Concrete to have the leaders that they can look up to in the environment that validates their potential as future leaders themselves. Thank you.
Veronica, Tay Atkins, Beverly Castillo.
Hello, hello, hello. Our board and chair and co-founder Jeff Duncan Andrade is a renowned expert on research-backed education techniques, in particular for Black and brown students. He personally worked with OUSD high school students that were not expected to graduate and helped them not only graduate high school, but prepare to go on and graduate from college as well. Those students encouraged him to create a school for their own children to attend to support success to their families for generations to come. And that's the large part of how Roses came into existence. The former state superintendent of school, Darlene Esteen, had engaged with our principal's leadership to turn around the culture and climate and academic achievement at Darlene Esteen's elementary school and has written a letter to express her confidence in her ability to do the same at Roses. In addition, Javier Cabra, associate superintendent of Aspire Public School, who is also on the Roses board, and Itico Garcia, superintendent of Sausalito Marine City Schools, regularly engage as mentors to support our principals.
Thank you.
Okay, so hello, my name is Beverly Castillo. I am a middle school science teacher at Roses and Concrete. I just wanted to give you a couple points of consideration. In 2019-2020, Roses installed a 2/3 parent board, a shared governance decision-making team, and a CTA union contract for certified and classified employees. ACSA, Google, the Chan Zuckerberg Institute, Teach for America, the Logan Family Foundation, and KIPP Schools are a few highlights of the 75 different organizations that have participated in learning tours and donated over $3 million to Roses. We are the only K-8 school with the Google-sponsored STEM lab to build ethnic studies-based STEM curriculum to be open sourced and shared with other schools around the nation. Google's computer science team approached us because their first effort at CS First flopped in other communities of color. Please take this in consideration when making your decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Lorna Angeles, Leticia Jackson, and Mila Guerrero.
Hi, my name is Lorna Angeles, and I'm here to speak about OUSD's engagement that we would like the board to consider. OUSD have already made a preliminary offer to a county school for our location. They're in financial and portfolio management dysfunction that is impacting their decision-making. OUSD's African American Male Achievement Report shows that Black and brown children succeed best when they learn about their identities, have teachers that look like them, are taught to love themselves, and have a culturally relevant curriculum. Roses in Concrete shows in all 4 of these core areas, while OUSD is weak in all 4. One would expect that OUSD, based on their own report, would be trying to build upon what Roses does well and provide support to improve our growth areas, take from our best practices, and implement to benefit students of color across the district. We are one school that offers what their own report says Black and brown students need, yet they are pushing to close our doors. Thank you.
My name is Tish. I'm a Roses parent and board member. I want to point out that over the last 6 months, this charter process has required us to dig deeper into why we chose to be educators and why we choose to work in East Oakland versus Piedmont. We take the students that OUSD chronically suspends and ultimately throws away. In the last 2 months, the visits from Juwin and Eileen were basically the first in our 5 years of operation where we received critical feedback towards improvement as a school. First time we've been able to respond and act on suggestions given. How can we expect ourselves and our youth to grow if we never give feedback and offer suggestions? The energy OUSD and the Office of Charters has put in tonight alone towards closing a school down that is founded on knowledge of self is unheard of. It confirms that this battle is about something bigger. It has to be. My son, who's 5 years old, cannot be in the best interest. It's history repeating itself. We're constantly told that Black and brown communities are not competent enough to make decisions for ourselves. The last thing I'll say is OUSD reps fail to mention that the immense culture shock our students face when they leave our community and go to those OUSD schools.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Monica Guerrero. This is my daughter Mila and my daughter Leticia Guerrero, and we are founding families. And my daughter wanted to say
Hi to thank you, Miss Eileen, Miss Aisha, and Miss Amber for visiting and spending time with us. Thank you.
The public comment session is now closed. I will now open board member deliberations regarding the Roses in Concrete Charter School petition appeal. Do any board members have any questions they would like to ask?
I have a question. My daughter, she's 7, and she said, Daddy, I have a voice too. She wrote something. I just want to advocate for her. Is it okay if she speaks?
Okay, this will be the last.
Thank you. Here you go, Demi.
Hi, my name is Demi and I am a student at Roses. I want you to keep my school open because the students there are talented and special. When I step in Roses, my heart explodes. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Are there any questions to staff, to the staff of Roses, to Oakland Unified School District staff? They're all here in case there are any questions.
From us?
From us, yes. This is now the time for the board to ask questions and deliberate.
I have some, but you can start down there if you want.
Okay, Trustee McDonald.
I'll start. I might want to jump in later, but I'll start. Okay, I have several things to say. Go to somebody else.
Trustee Serrano?
No, I can go on. I visited the school, and I spent 2 hours there on Friday. And I saw wonderful things going on. I saw an ooey gooey science project going on that I didn't want to touch. It was green goop all over the place, and I saw the kids interacted, and it was wonderful. And it's so hard to sit here and have to decide with your heart on one side and with common sense and your brain on the other. It's really, really difficult. When I see kids interacting in wonderful lessons, when I see wonderful engaged teachers, when I meet with staff, a wonderful principal. Carla, where are you? Carla, where are you? Back there. A wonderful principal that turned Delaney Easton School around in Union City, in the New Haven School District where we sit here, and then moved to the school, and in 1 year is moving mountains, but it's not enough. It's just not enough right now. I look at the comments from staff, I look at spoke to many parents, many staff members, and everybody cares. I also spoke with several of the trustees from Oakland. I spoke with you, Gary, I spoke with Ashante, I spoke with Jody London. Today I spoke with, let me find, Sonali, I spoke with you today. And again, my apologies to Oakland because I really went after you guys last meeting because no one was here. And then I found out that they were told, well, you can come if you want, but it's not really necessary. And I apologize because I felt I wanted you here. Because the things you said tonight, I wanted to hear to process during the week, the same as I'm hearing these things that I want to process. So I guess my comments are just that I wrote a few little notes, and Carla, at the last meeting you said, and I wrote you as quotes on my notes last time, you said, we're restarting, we're rebuilding, but it's too late to do that, in my opinion. I wish it weren't. But Delaney Easton, when she called me last night and I couldn't get off the phone for an hour, she said, Eileen, I'll let you beat me at words with friends if you give them at least 1 year. And I said, that's not how we operate. We can't give 1 year. We give 5. And I just have my own concerns. So I just want to tell you, thank you for allowing me to visit. Thank you to the students for being so warm and welcoming, to the staff. I was so impressed with your school, so impressed. So I just want my fellow board members to know that.
Trustee Serrato, you wanted to go next, or Trustee Knowles?
You know, Trustee McDonald is very correct in saying that it's not fun to be here to have to make decisions that might be unpopular to either one group or the other. And so we have to sit up here and make decisions not only from our heart, not only from our emotions, but also from using data. Because what we know in education, I'm a teacher, I was a teacher for 9 years, and I've been on this board, and I've had 4 kids go through the public school system, and I've seen good teachers, good schools, bad schools for them, and it's frustrating. And I've also been on this board for almost 18 years, and I've seen a lot of failures in school districts, and particularly in Oakland, and it has been very frustrating to me as a human being to see that kids, especially our black and brown students, have not been served correctly. But I also know that there are members on the Oakland School Board who are working on this, and who, by, I think, the help of God, will take this task on more deliberately, because this community deserves much more. It's not an impossible task, and you deserve better. But, and the but is a sad thing. I see a gentleman in the back there shaking his head, and I know it's awful. Decisions can't be made without emotion being involved, but they can't also be made only on emotion. We have to use facts. And I've been on this school board where I have made the decision to approve a charter based on emotion and based on a crowd such as yours of parents who desperately want a better education for their children. And every time I did it based on emotion only and threw out the facts, those schools ended up failing and causing a lot more misery for those families down the line, and a lot of wasted money from our staff and from other entities that are involved in education, and that's not okay either. So I will not be voting for approval of this charter, but I do want you to know that my heart goes out to you, and I really hope that you will be served in the way that you deserve. And also, your students at Roses and Concrete are special, and they are talented. That little girl was right. So thank you for those words.
Okay. Anyone wants to go next? Trustee Childress, Vice President Childress.
Thank you. I'll first start with Carla. I think Carla has a big heart. She's, as a parent, she's what I would want in an educator and in an administrator. I think that she has what it takes to turn a school like Roses around. She's done it. You know, I went to go visit today. In the last meeting, I pleaded to postpone this until March. That didn't happen, but I made sacrifices to make sure that I got up to the school today. I did see the sense of community, and that's something that I've heard even from folks that have recommended the school for closure. I don't think anyone, I haven't heard anyone speak negatively about the sense of community, the ethnic studies, the way Black and brown children feel when they're learning about their heritage, when they're learning about the true history. I really appreciated the mindfulness portion of the day. I wanted to sit down and close my eyes too. I think that's really necessary, especially with some of our students in East Oakland and throughout the city. I fell in love with the makerspace. I'm a big STEM and STEAM person. I've worked in tech. I understand the importance of using your hands and integrating technology into our education. That's something that our kids need if we're to prepare them for the future. And then there's the data. There's academics, right? And if you think about what our staff said, the most important thing, and this is the law, and those of us up here swore to uphold the law. The most important thing is to consider increases in pupil academic achievement for all groups. And it's, I've been celebrated and criticized for putting an importance on Black students. I spend most of my days looking at data, fighting for the reduction of the opportunity gap for Black students in particular, but really for Black and brown students. I go to conferences every year. I send out reports to people who don't get it. Why are Black students always at the bottom? And I don't believe it's because we can't learn. So there's something else going on. And as a lot of you parents spoke tonight, there's issues with the system. We have a lot of folks who still operate with bias. Our students walk into classrooms with labels, and they can't escape those. So I do see future lawyers, doctors, presidents, future school board members in the students at Roses. But how do they get there if they don't have the academic background, right? If we're failing them, if they can't achieve in math and English, then how are they to get there? If they're leaving Roses and they're not performing in high school, then what does that do? To all of that you put into them, how will they feel then? Thinking about what Carla can do. I look at the 5-year targets, and by 23, 24, it's still pretty bad. It's horrible. Even and I'm tough in Oakland because I am a product of Oakland. I still live in Oakland. I live in the hood. I still do. But these numbers don't make me feel good. So even with improvements, our kids will still not be in a good place. And that does not sit well with me. It really doesn't. Despite all the good that you're doing on the other side, the kids are being failed academically. And for me, I think about, what can we do with the amazing things that you're doing, the things that you're really good at. I think about, I hope that, and I have no say-so over this. It's totally up to you all in Oakland. But I hope that, if this doesn't go in your favor tonight, that there can be some sort of partnership so that you can take the things that you're really good at that we desperately need in all of our schools in Oakland and keep that. And partner with the district and the schools that have better education outcomes. So that's it for me.
Trustee Knowles?
I actually had a couple questions, and then I'm going to summarize my comments. So I do have a question for Roses to address the data that was captured in the staff report, and I'm hoping that someone can speak to some of the comments that have been stated tonight about the numbers not looking good. So if someone, either from the board or the school, can either state if these numbers are accurate or if there was a response that was issued to the ACOE team. And while you figure out who's going to speak, I have a question for staff, because there's a couple of things that have been mentioned tonight that I think are worth getting some clarification on. So first, during the public hearing, we asked a question about the Oakland Unified School District being invited to the meeting. A number of us have spoken with OUSD board members. I also spoke with Ms. Murcara, and the information that was consistently stated in conversations was that from the ACOE, from Ms. Lamb, the information was given to the OUSD office, but it was stated that OUSD could either come to the public hearing or the determination hearing. It didn't matter. It was unclear. Is that correct?
So it is correct that the invitation was extended and that it was up to OUSD. The terms "it didn't matter," that's not a term that was uttered, but the invitation was extended and it was up to OUSD to attend.
Okay. I apologize. Ms. Mercari, you probably didn't say that, but in having so many conversations over the last week, I'm paraphrasing. So I will just say it was odd to not have OUSD here. The miscommunication is unfortunate because this is not the first denial appeal we've had from OUSD. I do have a concern, and I feel like this is a repeat concern about clear communication, because I don't think that there is a benefit to an OUSD staff member coming to speak during public comment and giving limited information about, for example, complaints. This is information that families who have already participated in a local district process and now have gone to the Fremont Unified School District, now we're in the New Haven Unified School District, none of this is a vacation-like experience. So to add kind of fuel to the fire, because as a board member, we're trying to piece together facts, is very frustrating for me. So I hope that for future denial appeals, the process is very clear, and attendance isn't an option.
Thank you for that. We definitely are taking that feedback. And so since everybody is here in the room, I think we're all hearing that for appeals, it is a requirement for the denying district to attend both meetings. So I appreciate that clarity, and we will do better on that.
Thank you.
And not just that, it is expected that we'll also present at the first meeting the reasons why they took the action that they took. Because we want to hear from both sides at that first meeting.
President Rivera, if I could just for a moment add further clarity for what's being asked of staff. Staff is taking back that this be a requirement or a mandate. However, these are autonomous boards. These are districts who have the option of accepting an invitation to attend and present. So I want that understood. So we will be saying that it is the request of this board to have a presentation made and that there is an expectation that you come and present at the meeting. However, it is up to the board whether they do that or not. And so we'll make that clearer, but that was always the intent of saying you have the opportunity to come and state your case, that Oakland Unified School District and the board would understand that this was their opportunity to do so. So thank you.
So with regards to that, I know that there have been changes in the OUSD charter office, there have been changes in the ACOE charter office. If there is a baseline level of communication, I think that's a good starting point for us, because the denial appeals are not the same as they were 5 years ago, 7 years ago when I first got on the board. There is what I believe more that is expected and required in order to make a thoughtful, careful decision, and review the information properly, just in my opinion. Okay, so thank you for clarifying that. I have some questions. I have a question about urban Montessori and Prop 39, because that's been mentioned a couple times tonight. So I found out from looking at the OUSD website that Urban Montessori, a county-authorized charter school, was given a preliminary offer for the Roses in Concrete site. I believe it's referred to as the Tilden site. Ms. Lamb, when we were in the meeting on the 28th, were you aware of this information?
I was aware that Oakland Unified was planning to give a preliminary offer, yes, to Urban Montessori.
What would be helpful, again, moving forward, is we're in a denial appeal process for a school from OUSD who then finds out that their school site, as they know it today, is being offered to a county-authorized charter school. And then as a board member, there was no information given to us. While we haven't received Prop 39 updates in the past, I would request that if there is something that would impact the discussion, the research, any sort of conversation around a school that we're discussing during a denial appeal process that's in the same district and is related to a county authorized charter school, that someone say something. Because what is frustrating, what I have a hard time with is we were the last to know. Hold on.
I'm sorry.
And I know that you are doing such hard work to address the questions and the requests that, I will own my feedback that I have given in the past about clear communication. But this is one of those items where between the emails, the conversations, the in-person meetings, the research that I'm doing on my own, this is a piece of information that is important as a board member. And if you had the information, I don't know if there was a request through the superintendent to share the information with us, but there has to be better communication. Because when I have an issue or a question, I'm coming to you. And it seems like communication is one way, or there is some challenge with it. So I would say, I would request in the future, please share that with us. Is there somebody from Roses who's ready to address the data?
Hello. Thank you, Carla Victor, the head of school at Roses in Concrete. All of the any concerns that were brought up in the presentation today, we have already addressed them by plans. They should have already been submitted to you a while ago. And I want to address, for example, attendance in terms of chronic absenteeism. As a staff, we sat down and we looked at every single child in every classroom, how many absences they've had all year long. We then looked at what is our strength in this. It's relationships. That's something Roses is really good at. Let's utilize our relationships with families. And so each teacher targeted so many families this year, around the average of 5, to really get a real clear focus. Many teachers said, yep, I want to target every single kid, but let's really focus in on about 5, which constitutes 18% of our student body. And so our goal for attendance for the year is 18%. I want to be really honest with you about something. The academic targets, and I have to be honest, I stand here and I'm embarrassed in front of you because they're not true academic targets, and they are not what our academic targets are. that is my fault and my failure as a principal. We are not about failing our kids. I'm ready to be in the blue and in the green. Having the 2 years in the orange, that wasn't something to be proud of, but falling into the red after the crash last year was even more painful for any school community. That's not what we aspire to do. The biggest thing since I've been at Roses that I saw as needs were rigor. We do have a need for rigor in our classrooms and scope and sequence also. And I submitted a plan to you about that. So it wasn't like something we're going to wait to do. We've been talking about rigor. Mainly what it is we want kids to be able to justify, right? We want them to be able to generalize. We want to, ask why, and have kids really think about and have meaningful conversations and thoughts and interactions with their learning. And that's something as a state we're all working on. That's not something we've really perfected. But I will say with my history in the last 5 years, I'm working in the area of personalization. I've seen a phenomenal increase in all subgroups with personalization. Roses in particular, what we are going to utilize, and we're already beginning in the mindset, is UDL, Universal Design for Learning. And when we think about the state's MTSS, multi-tiered systems of support, we're really looking at kids with needs. At Roses, even though we only have 10% of our kids identified as special needs, we have 30% or more of our kids that have needs, that that have come to us, and we're thinking, how is there no history, no IEP, no assessment, no SST? It's crazy. And so we work with kids in all areas, and so working in small group, having IAs as a support in the classroom, and really working with those needs through universal design, we're really thinking about how do we, as teachers, organize the curriculum and plan the curriculum so that we target all kids and all needs, right? It's kind of like if you're bowling. You shoot the ball down the middle, you're going to hit most of the pins, and you're going to leave out the ones here and there. But with Universal Design for Learning, what you're doing is you're targeting that ball just the right angle so it knocks down all the pins. So learning for teachers to design instruction to support all needs is a need at Roses. It's a need everywhere. And it's also very new to us as a society in a lot of ways. But it's something I've been trained in. It's something I've seen success at. It's something we're already shifting in our mindset, because it's a mindset shift. And once you get there, you'll never see the world differently. When we talk about rigor, one more area, rigor in our STEM lab. And I know you guys got to see our STEM lab. I don't know if you all saw it in action, but STEM is a place where at Roses, rigor is really happening. Kids are exploring, they're asking why, they're engaging, and taking what we do well, STEM, and moving those same ideas and principles into the classroom are already happening. And that's going to continue to grow. I hear you saying that maybe it's too late. It's never too late for a child. And as a board, I do understand your responsibility, but I also want to go back to when you look at charter, it does not define achievement. It's not defined. And so somehow many people or districts have chosen to define achievement as just math or reading, but there's many indicators of achievement. We talk about leading and lagging indicators of achievement. The academics aren't coming before some of the other things, and granted, we're working on them all simultaneously, but we are making progress. I would not be at a school that I was going to fail or that I felt would fail. I want to be somewhere where I can change the community. And I'm not alone. I have so much support. Any day, I have so much support from everyone. We're all on board. The comments here, this is real. This is the community. And I know you're taking a chance, and I know it's a risk, but when you think about risk, what I really think about is what is the credibility behind that? Delane has spoken for my credibility, and many others. I am happy to share references that will also. Credibility. What Jeff has done with students in Oakland Unified, that Oakland Unified we haven't seen do. And so yes, we're embracing that idea, and yeah, I'm sorry that it's taken more than 5 years to really be in this place, but we're here, and what we're doing is working, and we're moving in the right direction. I would voluntarily say if you don't see the results in a couple years, we would close voluntarily. Like, we're serious about this. These are our children. We want to see them succeed. And I hope that you spend some time looking at attendance, looking at academics. I apologize for the MPOs, and I will submit to you realistic MPOs, because that's really looking at every single child, where they are academically, who we can realistically move. And as teachers, we sit down and we look, NRAs, we sit down and look at who can we move in our classroom? What do they need to do to get it? And we look at every single child, name and need. And it's going to make a difference if we have the opportunity to do so.
Thank you. During the petition renewal process in the Oakland Unified School District, were there any conversations about any alternate models of the school, or any conversations held about work that could be done with the district to keep Roses open?
We've been asking, we knew that renewal wasn't going to be easy, and we have been asking and not really given opportunity to have those conversations. Jamoke Hinton Hodge at a board meeting asked for more time so we could talk about partnership. That was upheld even by some of the board members in the room here, but it did not pass, so we weren't given that time. I personally met with Kyla, and we talked about possibilities of maybe kind of merging, but it was very kind of gentle and very open. And I got yesterday, actually, an invite to have another conversation. I'm going to be honest with you. OUSD doesn't want to partner with us. I mean, the thought of really having, I can't trust it. When I sit here and hear the things, how can you say the things that you're saying when you haven't looked and you don't know, when you haven't visited, when you haven't engaged? How is CCSA, how do you support, we paid $5,000 a year in dues, and yet how is CCSA supporting us? Why not come along in year 2 and say, what are the indicators you're using for achievement in the end of 5 years? Oh my goodness, maybe we need to look at some other indicators. Maybe that's not enough. Let's talk to some other schools and what they used in their renewal. That would be support for the dues that we pay. And you know what? Our dues just cashed 2 weeks ago. We're still paying dues for what? I mean, when we say close relationship, all I've ever seen is an email. I mean, come on. We're not sitting and having real conversations. If you want to support, let's meet and let's talk, but that's not happening. It's not sincere, it's not honest, and I'm going to be honest, I do not trust it. And I really wish I could, because I really want Oakland to partner and to join and to want to have that heart, but it's not happened. We've had repeated conversations and opportunities. Our CTA, a rep for our school on behalf of our teachers, has asked, and it's not being responded to in a way that is fair for our kids.
Ms. Victor,
yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I think you've more than answered my questions. I have a couple other questions, and then I'm going to summarize my thoughts.
Yes, ma'am, I'll be shorter.
So I have a question for somebody from OUSD, from the charter school office, and Ms. Hillary from CCSA. I have a question for you, and actually it's, you may return to your seats. Thank you.
I appreciate your time.
So just a general overview of, because with every denial hearing, I feel like I always learn something new. I know that you are new in the OUSD Charter School office, but can you summarize the attention that is provided, or the support that's provided by the OUSD Charter Office for a charter school in the district? So for a new charter school during the first year through year 3. And Ms. Hillary, I can't remember your last name.
Harmson.
That's my Similar question for CCSA. So I ask you that question from the perspective of wondering how we got here and how, if these numbers were reviewed during years 1, 2, and 3, why nothing was done then?
Thank you for that question. So we visit every year annually. That's a requirement of all charter authorizers, and so we have done an annual site visit every year. One thing that I think has been challenging is there's been a fair bit of leadership turnover at Roses and Concrete, and so I believe they've had 3 different leaders over their charter term. And so I am not sure that all of the feedback we've given at certain visits would have been transitioned over to the new leader. Although I think they've had other staff who've stayed steady, but the leader has not. Most recently, I visited for an annual site visit in the spring, and we definitely expressed deep concerns about the data. We also did a drop-in site visit in August, and then we did our 2-day renewal site visit.
Thank you.
And CCSA starts our review process looking at schools starting in year 3, because often schools like Roses that start in like K1, 2, 3, they don't have data earlier than that. And so we usually reach out to schools in year 3, and we're looking at what their data looks like, what their leadership looks like, enrollment and things like that. And so we've had our local staff visiting Roses throughout the years that they've been operating. The process that led to our determination to call for their non-renewal was about a 1.5-year long process where we're really diving deeply in to them. We look both at publicly available data and also very deeply at their own internal assessments. We ask them to give us everything, and our staff reviews all of that. So we are not making this determination solely on publicly available data. Explicitly for a school like Roses that has a program focused on culture and identity, we wanted to make sure that we looked at that data very, very closely, which we did, but was still not where we felt that we could be supportive of their renewal. You know, we as an advocacy organization, we want to be supporting our schools, but we are not a school turnaround organization. And so part of what we want to be doing is connecting our members to other resources, and you know, would be wanting to do that. We are looking to work earlier and earlier with schools, especially as renewals and dashboard data and all of that are coming online a little bit differently going forward.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any other questions or?
Thank you. This question is for OUSD, if anyone would like to address it. Just kind of going back to the questions around what would like phase 2 of Roses look like? Because I know there are some folks in the district that I've spoken to that think that there is something special there that should not be lost. So does anybody want to kind of talk about that or address that?
As Ms. Victor mentioned, our superintendent did meet with her and had an initial conversation, and I believe her intention was to continue the conversation after the final decision had been made around their renewal appeal. And I've had conversations with her, I've had conversations with our chief academic officer, and I've had a conversation with the CTA representative for Roses. I think there are different ways that partnership could look like. It's somewhat uncharted territory. And so I think it could be, you know, could it be a pathway within one of our other schools? Something like that I think could be an interesting option. Are there ways to incubate the program for a year or two, or have a design year or something like that? I would say right now it's unclear what exactly it could look like because it is a little bit of a new process to go down, but I would say we are very open to it. And as Ms. Victor mentioned, we had to reschedule our follow-up meeting, unfortunately, because of some of the budget things going on, but we rescheduled it for, I think, a few weeks from now. And our chief academic officer, superintendent, and I will all be there meeting with folks from the Roses team.
Good evening, and what I realize is the earlier hearing is more time to flesh out the ideas that I think many of us, and both the respect that we have for the Roses and Concrete staff and parents and so forth, mixed in with the analysis that we have. In my former life, I was an interim superintendent with Oakland Public Schools in 2013-14, and I had a chance at that time, and actually before that, to meet with Dr. Andrade on many of the ideas. I visited him at Fremont High School multiple times, and I have great respect for his Action Research Model 10, which we worked on together while I was superintendent. So I bear no rancor or competition with him. Moving forward, I have to admit I was retired, and I didn't have much contact with direct contact with Roses and Concrete because I was off the board and retired. But in this last year, I did make several personal visits to meet with the principal, who I heard great things about, and I expressed to her my respect for her work, and I explored with her some of the ideas that I, as a board member, first of all, I as a candidate, and I as a board member, believe important for us to consider all schools and all children, and taking the best of each of the different systems. The challenge we've had, frankly, is the decision we made to deny the renewal went into the appeal process, and in that appeal process, it's extremely awkward for me personally. Roses and Concrete is in my district. It would be disingenuous for me to, on the one hand, say, yeah, I can promise you all this, we can move forward on this, when we haven't actually made the resolution with the county's decision on the appeal. So that has been awkward, untested for me as a new board member in this current regime. But I think if you would ask Miss Victor, Principal Victor, I think she would say that I've been as transparent as possible. I don't make promises that I can't keep, but people know me as somebody who wants success for all kids in our area. So this is not to tit for tat. This is only to maybe answer Trustee Knoll's comment about what is the future of our district. Many of us have worked towards a way to have our charter schools and our district schools especially to work cooperatively. We've just a reminder. And I don't know if the County Office of Education was involved in this, but I believe your superintendent was. We actually had this kind of conversation with the Aspire Public Schools and with Oakland Unified around our early literacy program about 8 years ago. I was so excited about that. We have, and we remain open. I personally remain open to that kind of collaboration, to learn from experience, to support in many ways the important work that's being done, and you have my commitment in that way. That is who I am, and as the district representative in that area, I'm prepared to put my own reputation on that line.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think that concludes my questions. So I have a few comments. One, I would like to thank everyone for their patience, for their willingness to meet and answer questions, share your truth. This is the first denial appeal process that I have been a part of that was not held physically in the County Office of Education building. It's the first process I've been involved in that was where the public hearing was in one location and the determination hearing is in another. So first, would like to acknowledge the families that have had to go to 2 different locations. Second, this process has been one that has been particularly different from, I think, any appeal that I have had to review information for because of the feedback provided by CCSA and the public call for non-renewal for the timeline that has been exercised where the school that you're in was then identified in a preliminary offer to a different school that also happens to be a county charter school or a county authorized charter school. And I think because of Rose's story. So I want to say that Trustee McDonald mentioned last meeting that this is really the first or one of few times where the information and the comments and experiences of families received were not form letters. They were specific, honest, heartfelt from each family who attended Rose's. And the one message that I received from a family who chose to leave Rose's, even in providing the reasons why, was it was still positive. And so I think that speaks to the space that you've created to be welcoming, to be accepting, and to create a Rose's family. If I could recommend something, I would want to send this back to the district. And the reason being is, and Rose's families, I have heard your feedback over, the past 2 weeks. The reason being is because I feel like we are in the middle of a family argument that should be settled at the local district level. And I say a family argument because the Oakland Unified School District, you are in a fiscal state where you're looking to cut another $21 million. That is not lost on me as I'm reviewing this information, as we receive updates from the superintendent about the work going on with our with ACOE's business services unit and your business services unit. But I feel as if we're really looking at budgets, then the question has to be asked at the local level. Like we have to, I feel like it is important to ask the question of all charters in Oakland who are up for renewal of how everyone can work together to address this fiscal issue. And so if there is or were an opportunity for this program to be discussed and possibly remain in Oakland, so families remain in Oakland, that is what I would want sent back to the district to be worked out. So that so that it possibly helps to address some of the fiscal issues. I have visited Roses. I saw community, saw the love, saw the incredible makerspace, met with families, spoken with Ms. Victor, Dr. Andrade, spoken with labor organizations, with the labor group, spoken with CCSA. This is complicated. It's complicated, and it's something that I feel is not a black and white. It's not something that's a yes or no. I believe that Roses in Concrete belongs in Oakland. Hold on. And that's not that. I believe that you embody, that you embody, and I am not from Oakland. I do not represent Oakland in my district, but as you can see, those of us who, even though we don't represent Oakland, we still have a vote in Oakland decisions, or decisions that impact Oakland. But a community and a school with the name Roses in Concrete I think that you represent so much that needs to be in Oakland, that is in Oakland, that embodies working through adversity in order to grow. And so while I know that my fellow board members have spoken, and I've heard from everyone else. When I think about the children that this decision impacts, my vote isn't for either of the options that I'm presented with tonight. My vote really is, and Trustee Childress, or Vice President Childress and I, we had spoken about this. My desire would be to send, to send this decision back to the district for a larger conversation, because I know that a larger conversation around keeping or about charter schools becoming dependent charter schools within OUSD, or merging programs. There are other conversations that are taking place. I don't know what they are. That is something that is between the school district, the schools, and the charter school office. But I think now is the time where we need to think creatively about transitioning from a denial and still focusing on problem solving and keeping families in Oakland. This process it didn't feel like that for me. So that's what's predominantly on my mind, is an alternate solution that would keep some form of Roses in Oakland. but that is decided by the district.
Okay. Any other comments? Well, I mean, as our staff has pointed out in their report, there is a strong evidence of community and family partnerships in this school. Unfortunately, we need to look at the data. And the data is not there right now. I read the Oakland Unified School District analysis. I read our staff's analysis, and they were pretty close. Academic performance is flat and below the majority of comparison schools. The school has not implemented a sound educational program comparable to schools their students would have otherwise attended. The school does not appear demonstrably likely to implement the program set forth in the petition. Has not implemented a sound educational program. Very high rate of student chronic absenteeism. I mean, in 5 years, the school has really failed to really, I'm going back, when a charter is approved, the charter says what the goals are, and that's what is used to then hold the charter accountable. And in this case, those goals have not been met, and the school has not really made significant progress towards those. And unfortunately, I will have to support tonight a non-renewal for the school. So I would like to request a motion on the charter petition appeal for Roses in Concrete Charter School. Do you want to make a motion?
I'll do it.
Okay.
The Alameda County Board of Education denies the Roses in Concrete Charter School petition appeal and adopts the written findings and specific supporting facts in the staff evaluation report, which considered pupil academic achievement for all groups of pupils as the most important factor. In denying the petition, the County Board of Education, the County Board, relies on the following findings. Roses in Concrete has not demonstrated that the academic performance of the school is at least equal to the academic performance of the schools in the school district in which the charter school is located, when taking into account the composition of the pupil population that is served at the charter school.
So there is a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, there is a motion and there is a second. Is there any further discussion? Superintendent, can you please poll the board on the motion? And the motion is to deny the appeal.
On the motion to deny the appeal, Trustee Serrato.
Yes.
Trustee Knowles.
No.
Trustee McDonald.
Yes.
Trustee Barrick is recused. Vice President Childress.
You're missing Trustee Sims.
I'm sorry, I just realized that. Trustee Sims.
No.
Vice President Childress.
Yes.
President Rivera.
Yes.
The denial is upheld.
So the vote was 4-3, so the motion passes. So I want to thank everybody who came here tonight. Yes. 4-2. What did I say? 4-2. 4-2 and one person who's not here. Okay. So thank you.
You guys should be ashamed of yourselves, like straight up. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. I agree with him. You said you from Oakland. You really don't represent black people in Oakland, if that's how you doing it. How you doing, Gary?
Okay.
What's your name?
So we will continue with the meeting. Next item on the agenda is the Facilities Committee report. Okay, please take the conversations outside.
Probably in jail. All y'all should be under investigation. We need to find out, what are you guys getting money from? We're gonna find out, trust me. We're coming for y'all. We'll see y'all later.
Trustee Vice President Childress.
You guys know who else looks at people like numbers? Prisons. Prisons look at people like numbers.
California, #1.
President Rivera, can we go on with the report?
Yes.
Through the prison pipeline, you guys are pushing that through.
Okay, I've about had it with the comments from the audience.
Fantastic there like tonight.
Okay. Vice President Childress.
I don't believe there's anything there's nothing to report out from facilities. I can't hear. There's nothing to report out from facilities.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay. Program and Agency Budget Committee report, Trustee Knowles.
Thank you, President Rivera. The Budget Committee met this afternoon. So in your packets, the item that we discussed was the superintendent salary. And as you know, one of the specific responsibilities that we have as county board members is to approve or to review and approve.
Oh, can we get Trustee Barrick back in?
He's gone.
Oh, he's gone. Oh, he left. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Oh,
No, he's gone.
Okay, he's gone.
I didn't know. I didn't know that. Okay. Oh, I didn't hear it. Let me back up. On the Budget Committee are myself, Trustee Serrato, and Trustee Barrick. In attendance at the meeting today were myself and Trustee Serrato. We discussed and reviewed 3 options for the superintendent's salary increase. Now, in your packets, you will see information which reflects the proposed compensation for the county superintendent of schools. The information that was included also includes the Alameda County School District Superintendent salaries and benefits. So you can see the weighted average, the median, and where Superintendent Monroe falls in that chart, as well as the typical information that we review or have reviewed in the past, at least the times when I have served on the Budget Committee. It includes the Class 2 county, so similar sizes and similar size and similar, Class 2 is similar size, similar demographics. So that information is concluded, so Region 4, Class 2, and then the information that the Budget Committee also requested was a summary of salary increases for all employee groups. So we, as board members, for the general public who may not understand, we do not participate in the contract negotiations with either labor group at ACOE. So the information about salary increases for management, CSEA, or the Classified Employees Association and the Alameda County Teachers Association, we may not necessarily be aware of. So Mr. Associate Superintendent, Mr. Parangao, and your team were helpful in compiling this information so that we could review the raises, or the salary increases since 2013-14. So Mr. Parangao, would you mind, so that I don't confuse people further, describing how the three options were created for the board, please?
So as Trustee Knowles explained, that we gathered informations from the Alameda School District's Class 2 County Office of Education and Region 4 County Offices of Education. And so we developed our options based on the data, those three unique datas. So option 1 was derived at by taking all the weighted average of each of those charts, the school districts, the Class 2, and the Region 4, and by taking the average of the weighted average for those three charts, we came up with approximately about $295,000 of total compensation. And so if you would look at the option 1 page, you will see that the okay. So you'll see on option 1 that the amount in year 2021 is roughly $294,570. That is the average, weighted average for the three charts that I mentioned earlier. It is in 2021 because this option is taking the amount, the $295,000, and the proposal is to implement them over a period of 2 years. That's why you see that in year 1, which is the current year, it's an increase of 4.9%, which is amounting to $281,000, and ultimately it will be $295,000 by the time we get to the second year. And the succeeding year, 21-22 and 22-23, is an addition of $5,000 yearly thereafter. And the reason why we included that is because that is a similar amount that each management in the agency was getting. So if you look at the salary schedule of a management in the agency, each management get $5,000. We call them step in column increase every year. And so this proposal is including that similar increase or a step in column for the superintendent. The bottom part of option 1 shows what the fiscal impact year after year if we were to implement this proposal effective July 1. And if we were to implement them on January 1 instead of July, it also shows what the fiscal impact would be year after year. So, any question on option 1 before I go to option 2?
Well, why does it say the superintendent shall receive any one-time salary increases afforded to ACOE management? Is that the 5,000?
No, so periodically the management in the agency receive a one-time off-schedule payment. As an example, in 2019-20, each management received a $2,000 off-schedule payment. And so this provision here, this proposal is to extend the same one-time off-schedule payment to the superintendent if that were to happen down the road.
Okay.
Any other question on option 1?
I don't understand the management part. If the management receives a salary, but they're not receiving this kind of salary. So then for them to get a $2,000 raise and then also give it to the superintendent every time they get a raise, I think that negates us figuring out a salary. Why are we even doing a salary schedule then?
I think usually like a one-time thing is based, and he can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's based on, like, there might be some one-time monies that happen, and they, give it to management, then the same thing would be extended to the superintendent as part of her salary package, if that makes sense.
But that will not go in the permanent salary schedule?
No.
No.
Could I interject here? It's, if I could just suggest, first of all, for the public, I should say that what's different about the process at the county is that this conversation, which would be a lovely thing, but it's not what county boards do, happens in closed session at districts. We are required as a county board to do this in open session. So we are having this very transparent discussion in open session, as we are required to do. I would say, I think Trustee Serrato characterized it well. From time to time, we know that we may have resources that are not ongoing, but one-time resources that we want to pass that benefit along to employees. And this is just suggesting that that same benefit come to me as the superintendent. It's not the hill to die on. I mean, if folks felt strongly about that one way or the other. I think we're conflating the $5,000 issue with that, though. The out 2 years in all 3 options suggests that, in the 2 years, in the first 2 years, that the superintendent's compensation be brought up to what industry standard is, and then after that, the 2 years after that, that it be consistent with step and column for management. So that's why you'll see a much reduced rate in years 3 and 4. I can have Associate Superintendent Parengao go over options 2 and 3. They are set up exactly the same as option 1. Option 2 was the second option we came up with budget meeting before last. And then in this last budget meeting, there's an option 3, which is between options 1 and 2. So there might be some confusion about the fact that option 3 is actually lower than option 2.
Yeah. So basically what staff did, what the committee asked for was, we want the superintendent's salary to be in line with the county superintendent salaries that are in the class 2, which is comparable to what her job is, and then also look at the local districts superintendents to what they're getting. So you can look at the dollar amount of their budget. You can look at how many students they're overseeing, or you can look at similar job responsibilities. So we tried to look at all of that, and that's what you have before you in this amazing, I think, document, which I think that these red, if you look at these red tabs, that shows the different options, and you can see exactly why those are placed there, because they're based on similar numbers of kids, similar jobs, similar budgets, all of that, has been taken into place with these options. And then also with the management of ACOE, what management gets is the superintendent will now be in alignment with management, which makes the process more regular and really transparent, and it's something that we can foresee happening. But the great thing is that if there's a budget cut from the state or whatever, the step and column thing can stop. We as the board can stop it. It doesn't have to be forever and ever. So Did I say that right?
So you as a board at any time have the ability to revisit this should the fiscal outlook of the county office shift.
Right.
And I'd like to be able to actually share how we came up with option 2, so that it will give you an idea of, some of the work that was put onto this chart. So on option 2, using the same charts, the district salaries, the region 4 COEs and class 2 COEs, what we did was we looked at the average of the highest paid superintendent in each of those charts and the median point in this chart. So we took at the average of those two numbers for all three of them, and it came up to be about $319,000. And that's why you see an option 2, specifically on year 2021, you see a $319,000 total compensation, but then it's going to be implemented over a period of 2 years, and that's why you see a split. In 1920, 9.5% of that will be implemented. That brings us to $293,124, and by 2021, that number will become $319,000. And then the corresponding fiscal impact, depending on when we implement them, are reflected in the bottom page of this chart. Now, in option 3, what we did was we took the midpoint between option 1 and option 2. Thus, you see a $307,000 in 2021. And then we included 7.1% in year 1. That brings us to $286,600 and up to $307,000 in year 2021. Now, Trustee Serrato mentioned about the succeeding pages here, where after we did all the calculation, we looked at where would the superintendent be in terms of the salaries of all the superintendent as it relates to the districts. And so you would see in the Alameda school districts, if you were to pick whichever option 1, 2, and 3, you will see where the placement will be. Likewise, if you look at the class 2, the superintendent, if you were to pick option 2, it would be in between Orange County and Sacramento. And if you were to pick option 3, it would be between Sacramento and Fresno, COE. And then on region 4, all option 1, 2, and 3 would put the superintendent between San Francisco and Napa.
Are there any questions related to the options presented? Trustee.
So have the teachers settled?
The teachers have settled, yes.
How much?
What did they get? We've never heard anything about this.
It actually was in the newsletter. Yeah.
So how much did they get?
I don't remember.
It's actually 2% retroactive July 1, 2019, and another 2% effective July 1, 2020. And so, so it's 2% and 2% for a period of 2 years.
And then, I guess my question is, if you have a windfall of money, why is it the management that's getting a bonus and not the classified and not the teacher? Why isn't other staff members getting a piece of the pie too? Why is it all going to just management?
So the salary increases for CSEA and ACTA is concluded within the process of negotiation. So throughout the negotiation, those things were discussed. Whether the offer from the district is ongoing in one time or ongoing only. Likewise, the teachers had the opportunity to be able to do the same. And so in the process of negotiation, and so the outcome of that is what you see here, which is 2% this year and 2% next year.
I don't think you answered my question.
What he did, but let me just say it a different way. So, for example, for management, since management is unrepresented, they don't have a bargaining unit. What we decide as leadership is we have a particular particular resources that we say, okay, we want all management to be able to receive a raise, even if we can't afford in this year to give an ongoing raise. So we will make sure management is compensated with one-time monies. Our desire is to make sure that they're getting an ongoing raise.
It's not step and column, it's just one.
No, there's two different things, For our represented bargaining unit, CSEA and ACTA, they get to decide how, through negotiations, how they would like to receive any salary increases. Same things are offered. We offer one-time money, we offer ongoing money, and through the process of negotiation, there's a decision made as to how those monies are going to be ascribed. So what we came up with at the end of negotiations was what you're hearing now. So through many iterations, there were many offers on the table for one-time money in many different ways. And this is how negotiations ended up. So it is not that we are saying or that there's any desire not to give our employees the same amount or offer them the same amount of one-time money. For many different reasons. And those of you who are close to negotiations know that for many different reasons, our bargaining units are weighing what's more advantageous to them. And in some years, there's a feeling that it's more advantageous to take one-time money, and in some years, there's a push for ongoing money. So even if it's less.
What does CSEA get?
So for 2019-20, CSEA got 3.46%.
It's on the chart it's on the chart.
It is actually on the chart on the last page.
Here, and then 2.5.
So we're looking at the page that says summary of salary increases for all employee groups.
Yeah, so it's 3.46% and 2.5% next year.
Okay, so CSEA this year got 6.50 raise?
No, CSEA for this year got 3.46% under the column 2019-20.
Oh, I see.
And then for next year, 2.5.
And what is with compounding mean?
So we provided you this information so that you have the historical view in terms of what each bargaining unit and unrepresented unit has received since 2013-14 onwards. The reason why we picked 2013-14 is because that's the year when LCFF started, and so we thought that would be a good year to pick. And so the numbers with compounding is showing what the compounding effect of the succeeding salary increases. And so if you have an increase on year one and you have an increase on year two, there is a compounding effect because you are actually adding a percent to the previous salary increase. And so in the case of CSEA, if the total salary increases over a period of, from 13-14 to 2021 is 22.62%, when you look at the compounding effect of that is 24.84%. That is a much accurate measure of exactly what each member actually are receiving.
So I just want to make sure that I understand. So we gave the classified 3.46% raise, and we gave the teachers 2% raise, and we're giving the superintendent 4.9%. I just want to make sure that, plus a bonus if it comes up.
Yes, the 4.9% is if you were to select option one. And that's why if you were to select option two, that's 9.5%. And if it is option three, would be 7.1%.
I just feel like we're shortchanging the other employees, but.
So if I could, this is always difficult. I mean,
it's hard and it's hard to discuss.
It is, and yet it's the job that we have. It's the way it's set up. But if you look at the data that Mr. Parangao has presented, I have been below what other superintendents have been making for some time. So whereas if this were a process that we'd been engaging in every year, we'd not be looking at a larger increase to bring me up to what superintendents. So
Yeah,
that's why the disparity. We are watching at every turn. I am very concerned at every turn that there is not a disparate increase or a gap between what our bargaining units are making, the raises that they're receiving, and the raises that, or the raise that I would receive as superintendent. So there have been, I will say, in my mind, and I'm hoping our bargaining unit members would say the same thing, fair and consistent increases over the years when we could afford them. As you remember, we had years of deficit spending when no
I know,
one
and this is very
got an
awkward.
increase.
I realize, it's awkward for all of us.
Yeah.
It's awkward for us to ask questions, and it's awkward for you to be discussing it in public, but it's also how much we care and respect you, and it's hard to even ask these questions, but I feel like I owe it to the community and to our other employees to ask the questions, and they're hard questions. This might have been harder than the charter school.
Yeah, I don't think so. However, I have to say that Associate Superintendent Parangau's put together, I think, some of the best data that we've had to help you make this decision, including a very transparent and multiple looks at how we've been able to increase compensation for our bargaining unit members.
I also would like to mention that if you notice on any of the option 1, 2, and 3, that the document before you shows a 2-year implementation. It's this year and next, to be able to put the superintendent at the level, not even the highest, but at least probably about the number 3 in either Region 2 or Region 4 or Class 2, or the district superintendent. What could potentially happen or conceivably happen would be that by next year, this time next year, and maybe the year after that, you will find that other superintendents are going to start receiving increases once again. And then we will find ourselves potentially be behind this chart again. And so I just want to make sure that you see that this is a 2-year implementation. It's not like this year.
Okay. I have one more question. So, Superintendent, you're now, the raise then would fold your health, car, and phone into your salary. So you'd be paying all your own expenses.
Exactly.
Because I thought that was what we had worked out already. I
No.
thought we did the last raise, I thought we did. No?
No, it wasn't total comp.
Okay.
It was,
And you want to
I do.
pay tax on those things?
I want them as part of my total compensation. It's beneficial to me to have it
For
that way.
retirement
Yes.
purposes? Okay.
So the last thing that I'll say, just since we're engaged in this deeply transparent, deeply awkward conversation, is that, because it's one of the things I discussed with the committee, is, another thing that makes this different than in a district is the fact that I'm elected and not appointed. And I think you may see less of what I do than you would if you were district board trustees. And so one of the things that I've shared with the committee is that I've been asked to serve on a number of statewide committees. I'm often asked to lead committees at the state level and represent Alameda County in a number of ways. And I believe that those things are extremely advantageous to us as a county office to have me show up in those ways. And it's not something that every superintendent gets the honor of being asked to do. So that's a very, that's my attempt to let you know that I'm doing the very best job that that I believe I can for Alameda County Office of Education, and think that it is fair to be compensated for that.
I think it's very fair. I mean, we looked at all the different salaries and I think you're right in there. And there was a couple of years, several years where you didn't get a raise because of where we were at financially. And so we want to get her back into the mix.
So
But I thought that we tried to catch up in 2019, 2020 when we gave her like the 7.93 for the years that we didn't give her anything. Isn't that accurate? In 2019, 2020, we gave the superintendent a last year then, 5.94. I thought that was a catch-up for the years that we didn't give her anything.
So I think what you're referring to is that in 1819, the board gave the superintendent a salary increase, but it was a late start. I think it started in August. That's why you see that the impact in 1819 is 5.94. But if you would look at the ongoing impact, it was 7.93%, and that was the reason why it's 594 is because it was a late start. It was in August, but the ongoing is 793. So that was the only salary increase that were provided to the superintendent since she was elected.
Correct, but I thought that was, I mean, and I'm not arguing here, but it's just a matter of transparency. I thought that was a catch-up for the years that she didn't get anything.
That was a catch-up, but you can see that the catch-up still left me behind what other superintendents were making. So it was a catch-up for not having given a raise, but not a catch-up to where my colleagues are.
Okay.
So our budget committee recommended the option number 3 for the board to review. So I will say I did, we have, this is one of our responsibilities. And so I had a question during the committee meeting around the salary schedule. Because I wanted to make sure as there are a couple of things. I wanted to make sure that the superintendent salary was discussed. And if there were any contract negotiations with the other labor groups, that we were not automatically moving forward with a salary increase for the superintendent while other negotiation processes were going on. So the proposed salary increase for this fiscal year was discussed with the implementation date being effective July 1st. So when option 3 was recommended, that's what we looked at. We didn't look at a mid-year adjustment. And then the 1920-2021 proposed increases for option 3 are in line with the other discussions or the other contract discussions with both labor groups. So both labor groups begin their contract discussions beginning in January 2021. So you will see that the superintendent's salary schedule for the next 2 fiscal years is reflective of the $5,000 increase each year. So just a quick question, if management receives a one-time salary increase, you would also receive, is the proposal to receive the same salary increase in addition to, no, okay.
No, that, and again, I don't want that to be a distraction if that's an issue for the board. It's not a big deal for me, but it's only a one-time. So
Yes.
for example, if every management employee got $2,000, then I would get the $2,000. Doesn't matter that much to me. Not ongoing, any ongoing raises that management gets, that's a separate process from a one-time.
Thank you. I do want to add, because at first, I was not in favor of a salary schedule. I think the Budget Committee knew that. And so we discussed that. And I appreciate the superintendent's willingness to hear my concerns. You know, they were related to any contract negotiations that we may not be aware of, because what I didn't want is I didn't want one of the labor groups coming in to speak to us during public sessions saying that they were at an impasse or something. I wanted to be confident that communication around the budget process, any sort of larger conversations around the budget and any changes in the fiscal stability of the organization would be ongoing, as we know they're fluid, and be discussed. So the superintendent did confirm that what is being proposed is, of course, barring any change in the fiscal outlook as an organization, any fiscal change any change in the economy that impacts ACOE, that is something that would allow us to continue to discuss what is being proposed tonight.
And I have to say that that's different than what district superintendents do. If you have a 4-year contract, you have a 4-year contract. So I'm just saying that, the first 2 years are the substantial part of bringing the superintendent's salary up to market, and the next 2 years at 1.5-ish% are just continuing to add as if there were a step and column. This is not approving a salary schedule. This is a 4-year proposal.
Where do teachers and classified staff are in comparison to other districts?
Are you asking in terms of total compensation? How
do they rank? Yes, because we're doing this to bring the superintendent's salary in par with other comparable superintendents. So I want to know where the teachers and classified employees rank with respect to other comparable groups.
I'm going to let Associate Superintendent Perringall answer that, but that is an easier response for our teachers. Classified, obviously, there are many positions within the classified ranks, so that's a little bit harder there, depending on the position.
So just more recently, we did a study on that through the help of School Services of California. And we selected several counties, and including districts. I don't have the names of the district that we compare our teachers with. And all the result of that study shows that our teacher is the highest paid teacher, specifically in Alameda County area. If you look at the per diem rate, our teachers actually not only is paid the highest, but the margin is quite significantly the second highest.
Okay. Thank you.
I do want to say that how much I appreciate Superintendent Monroe and how proud I am when I go places and she speaks, because she is intelligent, she carries herself really well, and really, I think, represents us well. So I do appreciate that very, very much. And I would be happy with the raise. The only thing I would like to wait on is the bonus part. Just, I mean, we could always add it, correct? But I want to make sure the other bargaining units are, I just have a little bit of concern, that's all. That, that if we get pots of money, that we're going to give bonuses, another bonus. It's just how I feel. But no one's here from either of the bargaining units. No one's here from CSEA. No one's here from the Teachers Association.
In an effort to move this forward, I'm just going to strike that. I'm just, it doesn't matter to me that I'm receiving any one-time monies that management gets. I really want to ensure fair ongoing compensation.
Vice President Childress?
Thank you. I want to echo what Trustee McDonald said. It is, it's great to have such an amazing leader. I think you make our jobs easier. No one complains about you. People really speak very highly of you. So I really appreciate your leadership. I want to better understand, you said this is not a schedule, this is a proposal, a 4-year proposal. What's the difference?
So many of my colleagues do have a salary schedule, which dictates what they will make for the tenure of their superintendency unless it's altered. Even when it's altered, it is within a step and column configuration. So, for example, there's a step and column salary schedule for management. There's a step and column salary schedule for classified staff. That's not what the superintendent has. To date, it's been intermittent. And now what is being proposed is that there's a 2-year increase, and then looking to land on what would be a reasonable increase going forward after being caught up to what market rate is, using as a guide the management step and column, so which is approximately $5,000 a year.
So basically, we can avoid this awkwardness. Another question. So we could make changes to this proposal if there was a change in the economy, but also not saying that this would happen, but what if we were unhappy with something, with your performance, then is that included in there too?
Would you like to take this one?
I just want to make sure I understand the proposal.
I know, odd that I feel compelled to answer this for you, but I do want to say that we talked about this, and that is why I was not completely confident in the 4-year proposal, because I wanted some assurance, or I wanted to be confident that if something changed and or the board didn't have a good relationship with the superintendent, because that we would still be able to discuss things. I will say, after thinking about this, I was not reassured, but I did feel better that the 2-year, the salary schedule or the proposed information for the next 2 fiscal years was consistent and on schedule with the other labor groups. That was my first, I was in agreement with that. I think the superintendent heard very clearly that continued communication is important to us. And, I have to say, the increases for the 2021-22 21, 22, 22, 23 years that are being proposed. I think that as part of ongoing communication between the board and the superintendent, do I think that that's going to be discussed? Yes. Thankfully, Superintendent Monroe, she communicates with us weekly. We see the work that she is doing, not only in the board newsletters, but in the ACOE digest that is shared with us, and the additional work that's going on with the districts. Superintendent Monroe, I do agree with you. We probably, I probably don't have an understanding of all of the work that you're doing because I'm not here every day. I work. But having said that, I think that I am, I do ask a lot of questions of folks in my district, and she knows this, what is their relationship with ACOE like? Is there something that I can help, facilitate? And so I think that we discussed this as a budget committee. We did ask these questions. The superintendent is not evaluated by us, so that's one of the things that is different between a local school district and a county board of education. The superintendent is elected. However, I consider the ultimate evaluation of the county superintendent if the citizens of Alameda County are not pleased with what job the county superintendent is doing, they will not re-elect the county superintendent. And so, what I have been pleased with is when I have feedback or questions or concerns, there is not a time where Superintendent Monroe has not been available. And I appreciate that the relationship or the information that I learned when I first got on the board with the prior superintendent, I have been able to learn, continue learning about the county office from, under Superintendent Monroe's leadership. So I don't, as you recommended, I know that you're not getting caught up over the information for the end of the 4-year proposal. And I'm not sure if that answers your question, but I think every year, if there are issues that the board has or concerns that the board has with the superintendent's performance, the conversation is always ongoing and we can communicate that information to her.
Okay. So.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll be quick. I just wanted to say thank you for, it's really refreshing to be able to have a conversation like this. It is awkward, but I just wanted to know. Not that I think that would happen, so thank you.
Okay. So the recommendation is option 3 from the committee. So is the idea that we vote on this tonight, or you will be bringing this back to?
Yeah. Let's cut the pain and just vote.
Okay.
I would not want this to go on for another meeting.
Okay.
I think we're pleased with our superintendent with what she's doing, and she deserves a compensation, and I think I would just as soon vote on it tonight and have it be off the record. And put it in the book.
Okay, so.
My, as a board member, but I'm not on the committee, so.
I would like to.
So.
Okay.
Because to respond to one thing Aisha said about not doing an evaluation on the superintendent, this is the way we evaluate her, by giving her a raise, a good raise. She wants this part on the microphone. Oh, the last two things I said, she didn't care if it was on or not. No, I said, as Trustee Knowles said, and Joaquin and I sat on other boards where we had to actually sit down and do a board evaluation of a superintendent, and it takes months, and then you decide what they get, and then you bring it out in public, what they did good and what they didn't do well. I think by giving a fair and a good raise this is our evaluation. This is the way we tell the community, we value you, we appreciate the job you do, we appreciate how you network out throughout the state, and so we want to give fair compensation. And so I think this is how we evaluate you. So that's my comment on the microphone.
Okay. So do I have a motion?
So on behalf of the Budget Committee, I move that option 3, as identified on the chart that was provided for this item, implemented with implementation on July 1st, 2019. I move that the proposed schedule is implemented and with the understanding that, one, if the Budget Committee has any questions related to this schedule, it can always be discussed, or if any of the board members have questions, feel free to reach out to the superintendent.
Is this called a motion?
No, sorry. Let me go back. I move option 3, starting July 1st, barring any change in the fiscal outlook as an agency or any change in the economy. I think there was, can we discuss it after? I just have a quick question.
Okay, are we including the one-time salary increases afforded to ACU management or not? That's part of option 3.
It is part of option 3, and that is, yes.
Okay. So the motion includes that. Okay, there is a second. Is there a second?
I second it.
Okay, there is a motion and there is a second. Any quick discussion or
The quick
questions?
discussion has to do with the technical language around barring any fiscal changes in the organization or in the economy, or in the economy.
So, we are a little bit in uncharted waters here, but what I would say is that I think the fact that the board has the opportunity to engage in this discussion at any point addresses the fact that that could come up for a number of reasons, and one would be a fiscal change in the landscape. So I don't think we're going to be able to get language that mitigates for every potential scenario, but just to say that the board can bring up and revisit and view, you approve the superintendent's budget, so it is within your purview.
Okay, so I heard from one board member who cannot vote for this motion if the one time included to management is included. And I would like this to be, it would be good if it's unanimous. Can we exclude that part and then revisit that?
We went through a lot of talk and.
The committee did, but not the board.
That's right.
Right, and,
So
yeah. And Yvonne, I have no trouble with, when it comes up, giving it as a bonus and saying, yes, we want to do it, but I just,
only tied with when there's extra money if we give it to management, then the superintendent is part of management.
Okay. Okay.
and I don't want to vote no, so.
Okay, so you want to make a substitute motion?
No.
I'm sorry. I want this to.
It's obvious what I say doesn't matter.
So it was important as a budget committee for us to discuss this. Clearly, we discussed it in great detail. I do think it's important that all of the board members' input is considered. Superintendent Monroe, you did say that you don't want us to get hung up on that item.
Is that a big deal?
So,
No, it's something that I think is fair and reasonable. I don't think it's unreasonable. It doesn't happen every year. It only happens every once in a while. However, I would like this to be resolved, and if you can't vote for it with that, then I won't receive it.
And I give it to you, but I give it to you as a bonus from us. And not
But you can't do that. Like, that's actually, there's not a construct for that. I'm sure if you all discussed it and wanted to make an addendum to this agreement, you could. But this just feels like not a large enough point to belabor. So I am happy, Trustee Knowles, if you'd make a substitute motion.
the substitute motion is to implement option 3 as is described, with additional language that it's barring any fiscal emergency or change in the economy which impacts the organization.
Could we just say that the board has the opportunity to revisit it should anything change?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Not good with words tonight. The implementation would become effective as of July 1st, 2019.
So it goes back a year. Or
It would begin the start of this fiscal year. And is not inclusive of any one-time salary increases afforded to ACOE management.
Okay. So there is a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Do we think we can get a unanimous vote here? Okay. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
I abstain.
Okay.
Now, you're abstaining because of that bonus? Okay, let's put it back in. You know, this is childish. Put it back in. I want a unanimous vote on the superintendent's raise.
That's ridiculous.
No.
My vote stands the way it is.
No, it doesn't.
No, you don't get
I want a
to-
unanimous vote for her raise. I think it looks really bad. And if this is gonna be, something that we're not gonna agree on, you just have to understand that you guys are a committee that has been meeting and discussing this. This is the first time I've ever heard it or seen it. First time.
Right, I understand.
So for us, we're at a disadvantage because we haven't been discussing it and going over the numbers.
I'm not asking for it to look bad or not.
It does look bad, Yvonne. So I want a unanimous
You're
vote.
making it look bad. I'm abstaining from it because I have a difference of opinion.
Then
And
let's
it is
revote.
Hold on. It's my right to abstain without your emotion in it. I'm abstaining. Okay? It's not a unanimous vote.
Okay.
But I think that looks bad for the superintendent. So, not for us, for her. Nobody's gonna care that we didn't agree on one little thing.
Nobody's
It's
gonna
gonna
care
look
about
bad for
this
her.
at all. So let's just
Okay.
it passes the way it passes.
Okay. So let's move on. Items from the board. And let's be brief on this one. It's almost 10 o'clock. And we've been here, some of you have been here since 2 o'clock this afternoon. So whatever you can put in writing, that will be greatly appreciated. Trustee Serrato. Trustee Knowles.
I'll submit in writing.
Trustee Childress.
Briefly, Trustee Knowles and I participated in the African American read-in at Fairview Elementary School. It was awesome.
Trustee McDonald.
Briefly, since she's in the audience, I went with Chief of Schools, Monica Vaughn, and we did backpacks yesterday, and I admire the woman so much for the relationship she has with probation. and how we can whisper to each other, why didn't they invite us to this? We're going to get invited next time. So I appreciate you, and I appreciate your relationship with the probation department. So thank you.
Trustee Sims? I pass to Superintendent.
I will give you the update in the weekly message.
Okay.
Which I appreciate.
So, our next meeting will be on March 10th, 2020, and with that, we are adjourned.
So no February, end of the month meeting then? We can let that go?
Yes.
All right. Yvonne, I'm sorry. I didn't want to cause a problem. I just wanted us to be
No worries.
in sync.
No worries. So, I'm gonna ask to put on the next, we have to come back in March for the actuals. So I'm just gonna initiate the process to add to the actual, so for the March meeting? Yeah. So right before? Yeah. Let's try to get it right before rather than, yeah. But no, I want to bring that item back up so that we can at least add it for this fiscal year. Which item? Well, the one time. I don't think she's understanding what thing it is. It's only well, that's why I was like, I don't. And I'm like, okay, take it off. Karen is saying that you cannot do, if you bring up people walking reading up CSA, that is a separate thing. You have to do it separately. They're negotiated differently. She's not represented. I'm like tired. No, I get it. I get it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for everything. Yes, sorry about that.
We voted.
You should sit, you should just.
Thank you.
Our laptops, so shut them all down.
Staff is now taking care of board members. Elderly board members.
I've read my response. I think I don't need to write it? Okay, good. All right.
I think we will say, you have plenty on your plate. Ruth can follow up with schools and communities first. All right.
Okay. I put something on the, there are so many things going on in Oakland right now.
I saw all your updates, read them all. I'm confused, so I figured I'd save it for tomorrow's conversation. The CFO, so did the San Francisco people, did that fall through? Because that was the last thing we talked to them, that was a month ago, they said they were going to go with those people.
Still in the running. He's still in the running. I think there are two opposing parties, in Oakland. As you know, Luz is trying to pursue something else. She's not convinced about